Morning, everybody. Morning, everybody. Marc here in final control. And yes, it is time. We should be starting the drive right now. But unfortunately, this weather is still here. And I believe it's going to be here for a little while. Switching on and off with rain and drizzle. At the moment, we have a very fine drizzle. So we're not going to be going out right now. Rain has delayed play for the time being. I've been so busy watching a video that was sent to us. A very touching tribute video, and hadn't realized that the time has gone already. So I think, let me see, let's just change that for now. I'm still trying to log on to everything, and hopefully you can hear me because I haven't got any of the chats open yet. Hoping to get it. Of course, when you need something open very quickly on your computer, it takes forever to do so. And now I'm talking and trying to type in a password at the same time so that I can connect to everything via Facebook. Rain has delayed us once again. So let me see if Wild Earth is... there we go. So Wild Earth seems to be in tune with what I'm doing. I'm hoping that Ustream is too. Ustream plays ball with me sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. See, now it's just done something again. Let's try that once more time. Once more time? No. One more time. Once more. Hello, you streamers. If you're with me, I have started the stream, so you should be here. But thanks, Teddy, if you are there, north of San Francisco, Northern California. That YouTube clip, I don't know who originally posted it. It was called Farewell. And what was really moving about it is whoever compiled it put together the three of us with, I suppose, our favorites in a way. Me with the Ellies, Tara with the leopards, Seb with little Teddy. And a very touching song that was quite appropriate, or rather quite apt. A song called Farewell. Thanks, Teddy, for that. And finally looking like I'm getting into chat after 5 minutes. Mud Lovers video. Thanks, Miss Jenny. Hello, everybody in chat. No, we're not. Hello, Laura. No, we're not going to cry this morning. The sky is crying enough. I think the sky is crying enough tears for all of us. And I have to tell you that it is just a perfect... Thanks, Deb. Deb sent one as well. And this rain is really incredible. We've had probably around 2 inches in the last 2 days, and from that very, very heavy rain during the night before last. Excuse me. And last night, just a little bit of a shower. Now, Jess and Nick here at the lodge were up in the Timbavati. They went to see some people, and they actually dropped off some things for me at home, saying that it also had about 2 inches of rain. And I was going to be quite sad because rain like this at this time of the year brings out the most incredible things. I noticed termite mounds that were getting so busy to let their reproductives out, to release their reproductives. That's probably going to happen if we get another thunderstorm now, undoubtedly, because this rain has soaked the ground. It's gone in deep. There hasn't been that much runoff, which means that burrowing creatures are going to have a field day right now. and it's looking good, and it's going to be phenomenal in a couple of days' time. There's going to be incredible flowers and insects out. I just hope that I'm either going to be here or I'll be at home. Either way, I'll be around. So we're chatting. I'm chatting. You asking the questions, and well, kind of a one-way conversation in voices, that is. But I've got a lot of people to talk to, and I'm going to try and follow chats. Let's see where Ustream. You see, Ustream is not opening for me again. I'm just going to keep trying to reload the page. I really don't know how that works. Where some days, as soon as I click on it, I get the chat, and then I get the ad, and it all starts. And some days I just get the so-called circle of doom, which seems to be the status quo today. Okay, so where are we? Email that's come in from Joanne. SRV. What did I put in my lasagna? You're asking me to give away secrets. Does the Colonel give away his secret for fried chicken? Let me put it this way. It would be a lasagna that would make Garfield proud. Of course, I don't use herbs. I use herbs. I don't use spices. I'll tell you what I used. I used, of course, ground beef. And then I browned some, I fried up some onions and carrots. I normally put in some celery and some leeks. Didn't have either this time round, but I grated some carrot and chopped up some onions. I glazed that. Normally I take that out and then I brown the meat, but this time around, because I only had a little bit of meat, I browned the meat with the onion and the carrots, and then I added some tomato paste, and we get a tin chopped tomatoes here that we get flavored chopped tomatoes. And this is a particular one called the Italian chopped tomatoes, because it's got oregano, what you might call oregano and basil. We call it oreganum and basil. So it's flavored, the tomatoes, chopped tomatoes, flavored already with a bit of oregano and basil. Added some of those. And not much else, really. I added a bit further oregano. I added a bit of paprika. I added a few pinches of crushed chilies just to give it a little bit of a tang. And then normal white bechamel sauce, added some cheese, and that was it. And that's the key to a good lasagna is you have to get your moisture right in both the white sauce or the cheese sauce and in your meat, because the pasta soaks up a lot of moisture. And if you have it just in a certain way, then your meat and your bechamel or your white sauce dries out. And if you have it too wet, well, then it just all collapses. And somehow I managed to get the mixes right. I've never read a recipe. I've never measured anything. Only time I measure anything is when I'm baking. And I don't do too much of that here in the bush. What kind of pasta did I have? Hi, Linda. Pasta, it wasn't whole grain. Unfortunately, it was an Italian boxed lasagna pasta. Hello, Heather. Heather also doesn't do recipes. You know, I really enjoy cooking. I really enjoy being in the kitchen. I put the music on, have a beer on the shelf. Hello, Bets. Cindy, a bit difficult for us to do takeout here, and also takeout's not healthy for me. I have to eat healthy. Jumbo Phil. Nzuri tu, nzuri sana, habari gani? Write a cookbook. Okay, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll write a bush cookbook. What type of music? Well, my iPod. Funnily enough, I've learned now that I don't actually have to have all my songs on my computer because I lost them all. But fortunately, they're still on my old iPod. And even though I can't play it through earphones, I can still plug it into a computer. So I downloaded iTunes on my new hard drive, and I can play my iPod through my computer and plug that into speakers. Do animals come around when I cook? They do at home. I've had hyena walking right into my house when I've been cooking at home, because I cook a lot on a gas stove. 20 years ago, I used to mostly cook on a fire, but these days, I guess my green footprint, my carbon footprint has to be reduced, even though I've got a pretty low one. I don't really like burning wood too much. As much as I love a fire and as much as I love the ambience of a fire and sitting around a fire in the bush, I can't really justify making a fire just for myself. Although I do occasionally, especially when there's a moon, or if I want to cook something in particular and I'd like to do it on the fire. But I have a little gas stove and I do what I can on it. Patty, everybody is invited, and it should be an open invitation. There should be no question about that. Anybody comes into this country from over there, just let me know. I mean, if I'm at home, of course. I'd love to be at home, but I have to work, so I'm going to have to be looking for a job. But at least I'm going to be home for December, and probably quite a good part of January. I don't imagine much is going to happen this side of January. So, let's see, no questions as yet. I've plugged in my little hard drive, the one that I had from a long time ago. And I'm going to see if I can get any photos off of it, because I think you're tired of the ones that I've already got on Wirecast. The computer's not reading it. Excuse me a sec. Don't know why this computer sometimes doesn't read it. I've got to try different USB ports. Anyways, must keep track of what's happening outside. It was a fine misty rain earlier. I was just walking from the kitchen with my tea to FC, if you can hear me, because I'm trying to get my tea bag out of my tea before it becomes green tea soup, which it probably is already. And, well, I could barely see through my glasses by the time I got to FC, so it means that if we even went out now, the camera would get so misted up already within the first minute, apart from everything else getting wet. I have to say, I mean, Tara and I, yesterday, she couldn't wait until the rain stopped, and even if it was 5 minutes to get out, and I agreed with her. I mean, it is our last days today, second last day of all days. It's raining, and I was thinking, if worst comes to the worst, we'll just go out when it does stop, even if it's the middle of the day. But also, a lot of you will not be able to watch because it'll be, although I suppose at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, starting to be morning in the US. We'll just have to play it by ear and see what the weather does. And I'll share a Matimba pic on the screen with one last time. I can try. Sil, hi there, Sil. I might have one here on Wirecast. Let's see, which lions are here? I think that's one of them. Yeah, that's one of them, Sil. There you go. But as far as I know, the rest of all my Matimba pics went with my last hard drive to the great big... No, what's it? The wide... Anyway, it's just a dead hard drive. Does Africa have unemployment benefits? Hello, Carolyn. Well, sort of. But boy, do they make you jump through hoops to get unemployment benefits. It would cost me more to go and collect unemployment benefits than what they would pay me. I would have to visit an office in Nelspruit once a week for, I don't know, is it 6 weeks or something to prove, and I would have to take a letter to prove that I'm looking for work before they would even consider paying me out, and even then they'd only pay me something like 45% for 3 months, 45% of what I earned. Now that would be a lot because that would pay for my monthly medical. But unfortunately where I live, to get to Nelspruit would cost me more than what I would get in the end to have to drive there once a week. So it's a nightmare. It's called Unemployment Insurance Fund, and one has to. It's a compulsory contribution where the company that you work for pays half of the contribution and you pay half, and it's something like 1% of your salary or something. It's a very small amount. But when it comes to actually collecting, if you live in a city, it's great because you can just go to the office every day. Or once a week. But when you live far out, they don't make provisions for people who live way out. So let me see, where are we? Trying to find my hard drive on this computer, still isn't showing. I'm going to try a different port. I'll give it a minute. Ah, there we go. It finally decided to open it up. Jolly good show. Open folder view files. Right, I'm not watching chat or messages at the moment, or emails. I'm going to find you something to see on... See if I can find you a picture here or two that hasn't been seen in a while or I haven't shown before. Of course, it will be completely unedited. You know, the strangest thing is that I started deleting stuff on this hard drive a little while ago and started putting some form of order into this hard drive and removing a lot of stuff, making a bit of space, and in the process slowly transferring some of the pictures from my laptop onto this when I could. Of course, it would take something like 10 or 15 minutes to do one picture. Made it very difficult. But I managed to get some of them on. So there might be some photos on here that are fairly recent, but most of them all come from perhaps the first year I was here. Unedited. Unworked photographs. Excuse me. Let me start at the beginning. What have I got in antelope? Not much really. A few Impala photos. Nothing award-winning. Okay, I'm going to try and do this while I'm chatting to you, trying to find pictures. And in the meantime, let's go back to opening up Google Chrome and see what you can. Hello, Deb. What's up? Thank you, Deb. Deb sent in a message 2 minutes ago. Thanks, Deb. That was a PM. Won't keep it between us. Okay, a lot of emails. Let's do that quickly. I'm going to try and look through things while I'm chatting. Try and put them on to Wirecast while I'm chatting. In the meantime, Joanne. Okay, Joanne said, "Don't share the secret." Joanne would have given me the family recipe for the best marinara sauce. Is my house all by itself in the Timbavati? Was looking on Google Earth for it. No, not really all on its own. It's actually in a little camp with another house. What it was back in the 60s, my parents were invited to buy into a property. There was this property that had been used, or that had been part of a much larger ranch, as it were. And when I say that, I mean it was just all natural bushveld, but people had once tried to do cattle farming in the area, but they found it a little bit too difficult with the diseases and the ticks. And I suppose most importantly, the one thing that was hard for them was the fact that lion kept eating their cows. And it's actually quite frightening to know how many lion they used to shoot in those days, because they tried to keep cows in a wildlife area. And in those days it was bordering, well, it still borders the Kruger National Park. But there was a very flimsy fence between us and Kruger Park, and of course, being natural bush area, the wild animals still roamed freely. Anyways, cut a long story short, my parents were one of a bunch of people that bought this property, and everyone decided that each shareholder would get a small portion to build their own cottage or their own house. And it was essentially only used for long weekends and school holidays and our holiday place, much like you might have a cabin in the mountains, or maybe a cabin up in a ski village, or a cabin on a lake. And I suppose once I became an adult and had moved to the bush and was working in the bush back in the 80s, that became my base. It became my sort of where I would go when I was on leave. And it's become home. My siblings sadly don't come down here anymore. My parents don't manage to get here anymore because they live too far away. And it's quite sad in that respect. I'd love to be able to get my parents down here for an anniversary, or just at least for a little bit of time, sometime in the not too distant future. You're welcome, Sil. Next email. How is Seb from Cam? Don't know, Cam. I haven't heard from Seb. Actually didn't even say goodbye yesterday. I suppose he might have thought I was sleeping when he left. But I hear from Tara that he was looking a lot better when he left. He took some antihistamines. I gave him an antihistamine cream to put on what was slowly becoming some rather large welts building up on his face and his torso. But evidently they were starting to go down by the time he left. Cindy must have gotten some of my blood in her transfusion. Hope you're doing okay, Cindy. But Cindy had uncontrollable urges to zoom for bugs during the night. Hope you found some, Cindy, although with the cold weather that we've had, there weren't that many flying around. There were more flying around the night before last, before the big storm, because it was quite warm. In fact, there were swarms of certain beetles. My favorite drive or moment, KC. Giramita. That is a difficult one. I would have to think long and hard on that one. I mean, there's so many that stand. There's so many. There are so many. That as soon as I think of one, another one will come up. But I've had a lot. And it's been one super ride. One long game drive for the last 3 years here at Tuma Game Reserve. A USB adapter. Thank you, Rose. Rose just telling me that power up an external drive got to be recognized. So the only way to power it up, Rose, is to plug it in, and the only way that's so that the computer gives it power. So unfortunately, if the computer doesn't recognize it, but I put it in another USB port and it seems to be fine. As far as my dead hard drive is concerned, I have been. Ah, yes, I need one of those. That's what they used. Rose is just showing me what a certain adapter looks like. SATA PATA IDE. SATA PATA IDE adapter converter cable, 2.5 inch, 3.5 inch optical drive, external, yeah, all of that. $7.10. In this country, it probably cost 300 Rand. But that's what they used at the shop, I'm sure, to try and read this hard drive. And yeah, that looks like the kind of thing. Cables to go, USB 2 to IDE or serial ATA. But the disk wouldn't even spin. It wouldn't even turn. It wouldn't read nothing. They put it on several computers. It would not read it. And a couple of people have mentioned to put it in the freezer. And unfortunately, it's no good putting it in the freezer if I don't have that particular cable. But I haven't discarded it. I know that somehow, maybe one day it will be able to be read. Who knows? Wondering if I have this pic of me and Mishu. Thank you, Linda. That was quite a moment. I was thinking of that now when I was reading that previous email. There's a picture of Mishu. You know what I can do? Let me minimize that. This is a picture that Linda has just sent me. If it'll work. No, it doesn't. Okay. What I can do is try and do it this way. If I drag and drop to there first, and then from there I can drag and drop. Excuse me, talking to myself. Doom, 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 doom. Right, now where is it? That is the question. Drag and drop it into a folder with lots of other things, and you find that it is there, Mishu next to Marc. That's what it's called. Copy it to Wirecast. We can minimize that, and not full screen. Move it to the side. There we go. Okay, now enlarge it. It's going to be a very blurry. It's not going to be a great transfer onto Wirecast because I've had to fix it a bit. But there we go. That's the picture that Linda just sent me. This was a drive. We were on Rebecca's Road, very near the orchard. In fact, just a couple of yards on from that orchard. And on heading up towards Zoe's Road, and on the right-hand side of the road, we found Mishu. And I could see the way he was sniffing around. He was sniffing around for something, and I was following him, keeping my eyes on him, and eventually I stopped. And he came up to me like this. As you can see, if I move that banner out of the way, somehow managed to get the photo just in the right place. But there you can see the side of the Gunda, and he's looking directly into my eyes. I'm only just to the left of this picture, sitting facing him. I think I had to bring my leg right in at the time. And right underneath where I was sitting were a few bones and bits of pieces of a duiker that I think he had killed. I'm not sure. What would be interesting, Linda, is if you could remember a date of this. It was probably when they were only about a year old as well, if I'm not mistaken. Grasses are brown, quite long. So that could have been about a year and a half. So that could have been last year, end of summer. I can't remember. You know, this is the problem, is that I can't, for the life of me, can't even remember when that was. I can't put things into context. Hello, Marilyn. 20 miles from Niagara. Where can you find my bio if you don't use Facebook anymore? I guess you'll just have to wait till it's published. I don't have a bio. Bio. Let me forward that. I'll see what I can answer you about that, Marilyn. But unfortunately, I don't have much on the internet or on computer. So that was the lovely photo that Linda sent in of Mishu when I parked on top of his kill, and he stood there right next to me growling at me, and he was not a happy cat. It was only after a while that I realized that he was growling at me because I was parked right on top of his food. Well, it wasn't much food left, it was just scraps, but he wanted to sniff around and maybe chew on a bone or something. Diane in Texas, and not such a pleasant email about some co-worker whose parents go hunting in Africa. Unfortunately, hunting is very big business. As long as there are people that want to shoot animals, the hunting will make a lot of money. And as long as it makes a lot of money, there will be people who want people to come and shoot animals so that they can make that kind of money. And money rules this world. And right and wrong doesn't come into it. Right and wrong is thrown out the window. But I don't want to get onto the subject of hunting right now, and I get too emotional and too. Josie Jones made something for us. So Seb, Tara, and myself. Afraid to send it to you because all the time it would take to get to us. What to do? Interesting. Mostly because I don't know. I think you would probably have to send it to each of us individually. I'm going to forward your email, Josie, to all three of us so we can each answer you in our own way. So I will be able to give you my address. I think what we're going to do, I don't know what Seb and Tara's plans are. I know that they're all going to Mozambique in a couple of weeks' time. But thereafter, I'm not sure. I'm going to have to give up my post box here in Hluvukani because I can't get to Hluvukani to come and get my meds and to come and get the things that get sent here. It would take too long. So I need a post box in Hoedspruit, and Tara's got a box in Hoedspruit that she hasn't been using, and we were talking that maybe she'd take my post box here in Hluvukani and I would take hers in Hoedspruit. But I forwarded your message, and I will answer you later, Josie. I'll give you my address, and we'll have to get Tara and Seb to answer you too. What was the absolute worst drive that I had? Everybody asked me what my favorite was. This is from Patty on the Olympic Peninsula in Washington State, home of the one and only rainforest in North America, as far as I know. Sorry, I'm getting quite warm. I dressed up so warmly today. got a pullover and a jacket and long sleeve t-shirts, expecting to go out in the cold and wet. Well, in the cold, but it is wet and it's a bit too wet to go out. But I'm starting to get a bit warm, so I need to take off a layer. I'd have to think of what the worst one was too. I think some of those days when signal breakups were so bad and I couldn't get 3 words out without being told that signal's breaking up, one of them. Some of the drives where I'd get out and I'd be in such a great mood, and 15 or half an hour, no, it was like 40 minutes later the inverter would start beeping. Bonnie, when the decision was made to stop the safaris, did they consider just having 1 a day or 1 or 2 a week, etc.? If they could start it up again the first year, would you consider coming back? I did, Bonnie, get the high horse on the high bridge in Colorado. Well, I'm sure we did. Might be confusing it with the other railroad, the Loop Railroad. Unfortunately, Bonnie, it would cost just as much, the exact same amount to do 1 drive a day or 1 a week than it would to do this. Maybe the only thing that it would change would be it wouldn't use so much fuel. But staff would still have to be paid. We'd still have to maintain the equipment. We'd still have to pay for the all of the costs that we incur would still have to be paid, and that is the biggest problem. That is why we can't do this anymore. It's because it is no longer sustainable. There's no way that people can drive in for just 1 drive a week. We've all got to go and have jobs somewhere and earn money, and they wouldn't allow us. It's totally impractical, Bonnie, unfortunately, to have 1 a day or 1 a week. It's either here or it's not. Either there's somebody providing finance to pay for a crew to live here and feed themselves and the fuel and the running the vehicle and paying for internet and things like that. It's a do or don't thing. Either you do or you don't. There can't be half measures, because you can't keep a crew just to do 1 activity a week. It just doesn't work that way, unfortunately. What do I like to do for relaxation, or do I have any hobbies? That is from, well, no name, but the email is Anivet. What I do for relaxation, I tend to go out in my Land Rover and look for elephants, do game drives, or I just take a camera and I go strolling around looking for insects and flowers. Or I tend to, the few trees that I do have now, but my main hobby is, most of my life has been bonsai, growing trees, but the last few years it's been very, very difficult to keep any, so for the time being I've only got a couple. I read, I do a bit of writing. Casey, I did kind of just blow off your question about the favorite drive moment on safari, but I do. I've got. It's not something that I could that comes off at the top of my head in an instant. Unfortunately, got to understand that I love being out there in the bush every single day. There've been drives where I've found just a group of monarch butterflies on the road that I've never seen doing things that I've never seen before. I was blown away. So I didn't blow off the question. It's just I can't come up with something. I mean, I can't even think of a particular incident now. My mind is so full of not only what I'm doing and trying to find photos and answering and looking at the weather and doing stuff. I couldn't even. I'd have to sort of sit down at a fire and think really hard about all of the time that I've had here, and trying to think of maybe one moment. It's a very difficult question, and we get asked this question so often. What's your favorite moment, or what was the favorite drive? And there isn't anything, and I hope it doesn't belittle it all by saying that there isn't anything that stands out. It's because that there have been so many incredible moments here at Djuma Game Reserve. I can't think of anything that I could say is any better or any. I mean, I've had some wonderful moments with elephants. I've had some phenomenal moments with the leopards. That night when the lion, there's a paradise flycatcher outside the window calling with his long tail. Funny, we don't see them in the bush, but they're here in camp. I've had incredible moments with rhino, with impala, I don't know how to put one of those moments above any other. They're just all really special times. Every time you're with something, it's different. You can't compare one with another and say that this was better than that. I find that very difficult, and I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm just blew off your question, but when I'm finished going through a lot of questions, if I have a moment of silence here or a moment of contemplation, I'll try and think of some of the drives that I had. But at the moment, kind of hard to think of something in particular. And while I'm talking, the questions are just flying fast and furious. So, for the time being, I'm going to have to just try and find you something else to look at. There we go. Otherwise you get bored with the same picture. When the Ellie threw the stick at me, that was another one. Jennifer, thanks. Favorite moment for Jennifer was when the Ellie threw the stick at me. I mean, there was also that one night, now that you mentioned that one about the stick. It was one of my first drives here. And we were coming back onto the open area, just up from Philemon's Dip. And there was a herd of Ellies. It was getting dark. And we had that one female Ellie that is collared, that collared cow. And she came out into the road. And she had that branch and she was sweeping the road with it, and then she sort of put it on top of her head. She kind of threw it up and it landed on her head, very much like a hat. And her youngster played with us, and that was a very special moment. That was one of my first drives here. The Screaming Ellie. Hello, Beverly. Lombard Street in San Francisco, but not the crooked part. How am I doing this rainy day? I'm doing great, thank you. Was really touched by that screaming boy elephant. What do I think became of him? Do I imagine he made it back to his herd? I know it can't be certain, but is there a good chance he found them? And Beverly's saying the three of us should team together, write a grant to fund a non-profit live safari in the interest of educating classroom children and adults, for that matter. Well, that is something, definitely. I've always thought that this has so much of a greater value in terms of education and perhaps edutainment rather than sheer just plain old entertainment. I mean, we've noticed how so many people do come and look at the drive, but unfortunately we lose viewers because if a new viewer is introduced to us and they tune in and we just happen to be driving and all you can see is the back of our head and we have 5 minutes of driving without seeing an animal, I promise you new viewers log off. They don't believe that anything possible can happen. And it's only really the viewers that have been with us on really special moments and seen some of the things that we've seen that come back and know that you do have to drive around a little bit before you see the good stuff. And that is the reality of life. I think we're far too spoiled by the discoveries and National Geographics out there and Animal Planet that condense months, if not years, of filming into half an hour or an hour of action-packed documentary. And people think, and I've had visitors come to Africa and they are bored out of their minds. They say, but this is not what we thought it would be because of discovery, etc. And the reality of it all is that you have to go out there and look for the animals. They don't just stand around. They're not just all doing their wonderful things that they do on TV the minute you see them. And 99% of the time that you see things like lion and leopard and cheetah, they're sleeping. Their heads are down. And it's very, very special when you get to see them even just walking or hunting or even better, killing. Well, I suppose more exciting in a way. So as far as entertainment is concerned, it has limited value in terms of drawing a crowd. You have to watch it and get to know it to to understand it, and that's how we get to have this community of people like all of you out there who get to realize what it's all about. On the other hand, if it were primarily concerned with education and edutainment, a combination of educating and entertaining, I think it would. It has a far greater value, because then there is purpose. Then we have an audience that we are interacting with for a specific purpose. Teaching. I mean, it's a wonderful medium to do so. Unfortunately, though, it requires somebody to put their hand in their pocket and say, "Fine, I'll sponsor you." And I think I can't understand why some of the companies. Lisa in Canada was saying Sony would be such a perfect company to sponsor it, because of the exposure that they would get by using a Sony camera, or Canon, or Panasonic, or any of the camera manufacturers for that matter. It would be my dream for Land Rover to do it, but it wouldn't pay Land Rover. I mean, not many people are going to go out and buy a Land Rover from just watching a live broadcast. And I think that's what is the criteria here. Anyways, enough on that whole thing. Just to answer your question, Beverly, about that young Ellie, the fact that we haven't seen a young elephant running around screaming, I think is a fair indication that he must have found his herd. It's impossible to know. I can't believe that he didn't. I mean, there's so many elephants here. He would have found something. He would have found other little boys. He would have. But shortly after we heard him screaming, we had that big herd of elephant that was less than 100 yards away from where he was screaming, and I have no doubt that was his herd. So no, I don't think there was anything. Mishu, that was, thanks Deborah. That's the other photograph of the day that Mishu was on the side of my vehicle. I guess it's a couple of seconds after the last photograph that I showed you. Let me see if I can do this now. Feedback detected. Doing that again. I was doing it for P-Ware. It's probably because the levels are too high and I'm talking too loud. Hopefully that's okay. I've had to minimize lots of things, so to read emails and then also to open up folders and transfer photographs from a folder to Wirecast, like I'm doing now, and then I double click on it. It's already the perfect size, but there you go. So actually, if we start with that one, first it was like that, he was looking at me, and then the next minute he was doing that, telling me to get off his nyama, get off of his kill. That was also a very special moment. Very special. Thanks for that pic, Deborah. See, emails are doubling up. And then there was another one, February 23rd. Okay, well, I've got two different dates here, because Deborah said July the 12th, 2010. That was Deborah in Kentucky. But then the next email, Joanne, it's a different hiss. This was a different one, and that picture, I can't do that picture. But Joanne sending another picture of Mishu hissing. But that looks like he was in a tree. Joanne, that was from February 23rd last year. And you can see everything's green around him, as opposed to this picture we're looking at now where everything's brown. Go back to Teddy. A matter of money. How much money will make a wrong right? We're running into probably around between, I'd say, $6,000 and $8,000 a month. Oh, beautiful picture, Dottie. Thank you, Dottie. Dottie made a picture of a young Ellie with my hat in the foreground. Beautiful. Thank you, Dottie. See now, coupled with the question of what's your favorite moment or what's your favorite drive is another question that comes in that I find very, very difficult for kind of similar reasons. This is from Firefly. Thanks, Livia in Ottawa. And what is the most beautiful area to visit in Africa? And I think I could sort of throw a question back and say, what is the most beautiful area to visit, say, in the States or something? And for me, it's one of those one of those questions that has multiple answers. There isn't a most beautiful area. You see, this is the thing. It's like there isn't a most amazing drive, or there is a history of really incredible moments. And when it comes to the areas of Africa that I've visited, I have lived in some really wonderful places, but because they are so different, they can't be compared to each other. I can't begin to compare the likes of the Okavango Delta with, say, Meru National Park, or even the Saluga Game Reserve in Tanzania with the Tarangire National Park in Tanzania, two parks that I lived in the same country. That was so different, and they are so incomparable. And both of them are so incredible. I would live there at the drop of a hat. Not dropping my hat right now. But I find it very difficult to say that one is more beautiful than the other. They are all incredible. And I hope you can understand that I can't put one thing above another. It's like give me 10 beautiful women and say which one is the most beautiful. I would say all of them, for their own reason. You know, it's a hard. I don't have this ability to put one thing over another. Put 10 beers on the table, I'd say one tastes better than the other. Put 10 whiskeys on the table, I'd say one is, or wine, or 10 lasagnas on the table, I'd say I'll tell you which one tastes best. That's all a taste thing. When it comes to the eye of, or rather the beauty of nature and my eye that beholds it, I can't place one above the other. Trying to think of, trying to think of analogies. Let me see where we are. I've got mail open. Let me check what's happening in chat, because I've neglected chat and just been stuck on the email page and. So, have a sip of my tea and read through chat a little bit. I also want to see if I still can't get into trying to reload Ustream. Anybody have any clues as to how to get Ustream to work? Please let me know by email. Obviously, it doesn't help telling me on Ustream chat. I can't even tell if Ustream is live, but I'm sure I would have gotten a message from somebody to say that Ustream's not working. I'm taking it for granted that it is. So back to Wild Earth chat. Trying to go back to, where's that, 6:21. It's now 6:24. Gone back 3 minutes. It's about the furthest back I can go. Melvin Davis said, yes, 100 grand US for a year is a drop in the bucket for a major corporation. It is. In fact, they would probably spend that amount in one TV ad. It's incredible how much companies pay for advertising, and this would be like daily throwing out their name to the world. So, I don't know. The thing is that the one problem that we have experienced in the last 3 months is that it cannot work with only 3 of us. And we need a 4th, if not a 5th person. I mean, the whole subscription route. I don't know, am I jumping subjects? Yeah, I'm just going through chat and seeing what you were all chatting about. It was all about the finances of things. Anyways, it's not up to me. But yeah, it would be is way too stressful. Puts far too much strain on our interpersonal relationships here, having only 3 of us working every single day on top of each other every day. We've ended up like siblings at times. I mean, it's great to be on air and we joke and things, but living on top of each other, sharing a tiny little kitchen and a fridge and stuff, it does get difficult. And if it's the closest thing we come to sibling rivalry times. So if anything, if this was ever to work again, I have to tell you that we would need at least another couple of people to... I also thought, there's so many youngsters out there that want to study these things, either wildlife or filming, and they would probably kill to have room and board just to come and learn a little bit of camera work and learn directing and learn about wildlife. I mean, we've had that before. We've had those 2 kids that came in when we were doing the wild dog den, and I think it would be great for kids to come in, just finished school or college. And that would help us. Don't read the chat, carry on. I'd like to read chat. I just want to see if... I think it has something to do with this computer. The problem with this computer is that it's on permanently. Well, if it goes off when there's no power. But I don't think it's ever had a disk cleanup or a disk frag, defrag. I know I clear the cache every now and then. In fact, every 3rd day when I'm in directing, I clear the history and clear the cache and check the spam. So, emails are piling up. 3 messages in spam. All 3 of them are spam. Wow, what a surprise. Delete forever. Inbox. Next one on the list, Christine in New York. When doing 2 drives a day, did you get any sleep? Actually, nowadays in summer, it's a bit easier because we have such a long break in between the 2 drives. When it's the winter drives, it's harder. But then we have a much longer night, so we get a good night's sleep. Can't speak, once again, can only speak for myself. But yes, I used to take a nap straight after drive. I'd come in at 8:30, put stuff away, put the vehicle on charge, and before it got hot, I'd nap until 11. At least. By 11 o'clock, my room becomes an oven. It becomes a sauna, so I can't be in there. And so that's normally when I'd wake up covered in sweat. Although I have to be honest, a day like today, it would be a lovely day to nap, but unfortunately, today is a day for packing. One of those sad moments, packing. Screenshot of Induna I took recently. I'd like to add to my collection of pictures of Sabi. Actually, that's another thing I could do. I could take some pictures off of my camera. Yeah. Thanks, Miss Chris in Louisiana. Lovely picture there of Induna. I shall transfer this or forward this to my personal email. Marc@juma.com, and I'll put an auto forward in that when I leave here, and I'll find out. I'm sure Yuri will let us use that email for a little while after we finish off, so that we can still keep in touch with a few. Cindy asking about costs. I think I've answered that one. Anyway, to stay in touch with what is going on with the leopards, Miss Mac. Hello, Joan. The only way would be through Juma or through the surrounding lodges, Leopards of the Sabi Sand on Facebook, and I suppose through the guides in the neighboring lodges. I don't know what's happening here at Juma. I don't know whether they will be posting stuff. But that would be the only way. It would be if anybody was here at Juma. Jenny, hello Jenny. Jenny saying Ustream not working on her iPhone. Okay, I'm quickly going into chat to see. Where are we? Anybody in chat, while I'm looking at chat quickly, can anybody see? Thanks, Pam. Can anybody see Ustream? Can let me know on Wild Earth chat, or at least send a quick email in to say that Ustream is working and that they are hearing me. Rosie, anybody on? Oh, sorry, Penny. Leopards of the Sabi Sands, that's a closed group according to Penny. Sorry, Penny, didn't know that. Heather saying right here. Slayer saying Ustream down. Sabrina saying, well, Sabrina chats here. Sabrina saying Ustream's working fine. As long as it's working for somebody, then I know it's leaving here fine. Then for the people like me who can't pick it up, the problem is not broadcasting it, it's receiving it. Randy saying Ustream's okay, but Jennifer saying it's not working. Scott saying it is. Sabrina, okay, so I'm not worried about Ustream anymore. Those of us that can't get Ustream to work, it's our computers or it's our internet. It's not the broadcast. That tells me that Ustream is broadcasting fine. One of my favorite beetle pics. I took 100 of these photographs, and this is the only one that was remotely in focus. That was such a pity. It was a day I think we'd just been watching Karoo. Was it? I think so. It was near the braai site on the open area. We had been watching. I think that was the day when Karoo and the cubs, Mission Induna, they were still small. They had an impala in a tree, and Floppy Ear and the rest of the clan came along, and they nearly got one. That's right. Mishu got a little nip on his rump. And shortly after that, I found these two weevils on this acacia. And I was trying to photograph them mating, and I think I disturbed them. I guess it's hard if you're trying to grow the numbers of your species and you have a camera interrupting your honeymooning. Anyways. The one dropped and the other one was about to take off and fly away. Opened the elytra, those lovely blue and red upper wings, and unfolded the very thin membranous flight wings underneath and flew away. I managed to catch this. Next question, please. Ed. Hello, Ed. Ed's saying, all concerned about me, why do I say I'll be lucky to live 2 years and be honest? Ed, I'm just, because I have to take every day as it comes. I know that I will be here in 2 years' time, but I can't plan anything in 2 years' time. I plan for today and tomorrow. I'm living on borrowed time. It's, to me, the way I look at it, when in the old days when you used to play pinball and you got to a certain number of points and then you get this loud click from the machine and you get a free game. Well, I've got a few free games under my belt, and having had the transplant, I look after myself, and my blood tests seem to be okay. They're a little bit elevated, the ones I had last week. My blood pressure is fine. My creatinine as well, for those that know what it is. But one or two things that are elevated. My potassium is very low. I need to eat some more bananas and potatoes. But I did have a little bit of a scare recently with a couple of things, and that is because I do live a life of somebody who, I live a somewhat of a different life of the average transplant patient, and it's not always easy for me to do the right thing as much as I know I should. And as much as I know that, as much as I would want to live the rest of my life with this one kidney, I know that I have to be realistic. I have to face the possibility that one of these days I'm going to have to go through it all again. The reason why I do that is because I've just learnt in life that you've got to understand what life can throw at you, and if you're prepared for certain things, then it doesn't hit you as hard. And so it just in the reality of life, I'm not expecting it. It's just that if it happens, then I will be prepared for it. Anyways, D in Minnesota. Amount that this drive venture costs per month. Well, we were there already earlier. I don't know what the problem was with having a subscription service. I don't know why that wasn't feasible. I have to say, it's not something that it's not a part. I'm not part of that decision-making process. I'm just a worker. I'm just here. So I haven't any idea what the reasons were why it wasn't possible to go the subscription route. Happy birthday, by the way, D. I hope you've had a wonderful day today. Or yesterday. My yesterday, still your today. But happy birthday, D. And lovely picture there. Maybe I should try and put this picture on as well. This is Becky. One of Becky's favorite pictures. And yes, that was from that video that Matlava had put up. Let me see if I can put that on to show what we're talking about. That, and then we'll put it in there. Cropper capture. And then I need to minimize and maximize, minimize and maximize, and drag and drop, and that is a wonderful picture. And I think I don't know, I can't remember who was on drive, but I had a couple of similar photographs. Now I've just got to find out where it dropped it. There it is. Yeah, there was that sequence of these two in the tree, Karula and one of her youngsters. I can't tell from here who it is. But that was from Matlava's video. Sent in by Becky, one of her favorite pictures. And saying that it's raining so hard, rivers are flooding and the salmon are crossing the roads. That is quite a picture. But wow. This salmon. It's a video. There's salmon swimming across the road in like an inch of water. That is incredible. Where are they going? To find bears to eat them. Skokomish Valley Road in Mason County during heavy rain on Tuesday morning. Skokomish Valley Road. Thanks, Becky. A very interesting photograph, that. Never thought of that was possible. Cindy saying favourite moment was the sunrise behind the giraffe. It's just one of those most beautiful images that she will never forget. I remember that clearly because we actually used that footage, I think, in the best 100 diaries of those giraffe in that early morning golden light. I recall when the big bull Ellie was up by a bush by a road and I had to drive up a hill to get around him, and he decided he owned the road and charged the Gunda. I had to roll back down the hill. Jerry in Oklahoma. I think that was the time, Jerry, when he slipped in the mud. If I'm not mistaken, that was a wonderful moment. And I remember taking a little bit of a movie clip of that, which probably is on my frozen hard drive. I'm sure that's the moment, Jerry, when it was that older bull and a younger bull sparring in the road. We just had a lot of rain, and it was in that dip on Twin Dams Road as we come towards Gari Dam from Chelapan, and we come through that little dip, and it's a little bit clayey. There's quite it's a clay base, and there's no topsoil, And he sort of loped towards us. He wasn't really charging, but he did sort of come towards us, and then he stopped, but his momentum kept him coming towards us because he kept slipping down the slope. It was a fun moment. Gosh, flying fast and furious, the questions now. Pete Pond, Dave, hello Dave. Dragon Mama and Dumpret Dave. Dumpret, okay. Dave and Dragon Mama. Have I ever caught a poacher on my travels in the park before? If so, what is the punishment I get from the law? Thanks, Dave. I've been involved in anti-poaching, not here in the park, because here they have anti-poaching people and they have other people to deal with it. But when I was up in East Africa, I used to help out with the local authorities with anti-poaching. And because the poachers were their cousins and their family, and we're not talking about rhino and elephant poachers, we're talking about poachers that were doing other stuff. But they were the anti-poaching teams I was with would make sure that the poachers could get away, and then they would just confiscate all the equipment to the poachers. But I'm not going to go there right now, Dave. Unfortunately, it's quite a contentious issue. Not the poaching, it's the catching of the poachers and what they do with them. And there is no judicial system in this country at the moment, and it's a nightmare. People are getting off for murder, and poachers, I think, are the lowest on the rung of priorities when it comes to the judicial system. I think as far as the rhino poaching is concerned, there's enough world pressure on our local governments or our government and local municipalities to try and make an example of poachers if caught with rhino products or elephant ivory. But most of the poaching that goes on is subsistence poaching. Hungry people in villages that live on the edges of the reserve, and they see these reserves as elite areas where only the rich people go, and that they're barred from enjoying it. Or basically, the unemployment is high, the population is high, and with people not working, people want to, and so many other inherent problems in rural societies. When people go out now, put up snares and try and catch something for food, and I'm not going there. I've got another 40 questions to answer. But hello, Jody in Los Alamos. Never been bored on drive because of the little things. Trees, bugs, insects, flowers, the sky. Never a dull moment. And thanks, Jody. Lovely email just saying that even when the big five aren't around, there are other things to do. Hello, Lynn. Lynn sending a photo. Thanks, Lynn. In Canada, the collared cow, the night she put that bush on her head. I don't know, I'm going to see if I can try and put that one on as well. Try and put that onto Wirecast. Where's my folder now? Ah, there, I've just pulled it up. How silly. Okay, put that on that folder. Thank you. And then from that folder, we put it in Wirecast. And it didn't go to Wirecast. Let's try that again. I need to check on the weather actually also. Okay, this is going to be slightly cropped because if I try and expand it or zoom in, we lose definition, we lose a lot. If I try and fill the screen, let me see if I can do that. If I can fill the screen a little bit more, we lose the bottom of it. But that was the night. She put the bush on her head and she stood in front of me in the road, and it was a beautiful night. That. Thanks for sending that, Lynn, in Canada. March the 13th. So it was literally within 2 weeks of being here, I think, if I'm not mistaken. March the 13th, 2009. And we're now coming up for the first time I did a drive here very soon. Early December was when I did my tryout drives, but I only really started in the February. Janet in Middleburg Heights, Ohio. When the baby Ellies were playing, they were so cute and fun to watch. But my giggle and hearing me talk about them was also great. Thank you, Janet. Thanks for the email, Janet. Steve and Kathy. So now you see I'm learning about things. Kathy saying that her sister is Deborah. See, I didn't know that Deborah was your sister, Kathy. Ah, okay. Deborah Rose worried about getting bit by a snake on a walking safari. I have to tell you something. You don't see Africa from the back of a vehicle. Yeah, you see the big five and you can get close to the lions and the leopards and take photographs, and that's wonderful. But you don't see Africa. You don't feel Africa. Actually, that's all you do, is you get to see things. But you only get to feel Africa when you're out there on foot doing a walking safari. Smelling it and feeling it, feeling the earth under your feet and touching the leaves and picking up things off of the ground and smelling them and smelling leaves that you crush in your fingers. And those moments of standing face to face with a giraffe, being one of the most gentle animals that you will ever come across on foot, without any fear whatsoever, knowing that the giraffe can't do any or won't do anything to you, but in absolute awe in that the giraffe allows you to stand there watching it. The thrill of following lion tracks, or the thrill of trying to hide from a herd of elephants and stay downwind of them and make sure they don't get your scent. I could probably go on for the next 2 hours telling you about what it's like being on a walking safari, but you'd have to experience it. Now, for those that are worried about snakes, I have yet, of all the walking safaris that I've done, and all the walking safaris that I know of that are going on at any one moment in time, in all throughout Africa, I don't know of anybody that's been bit by a snake on a walking safari. It just doesn't happen. Any case, you've got people walking in front of you, and the guides are vigilant. The thing is that snakes don't really just lie around and wait to be trod on. I know that the rattlers in some parts, when they're sunning themselves, I think rattlers in some ways can be a danger. And I know in some parts of the world where you get things like water moccasins or the fer-de-lance, people have stood on them. The only snake that you're likely to stand on here is a puff adder, similar to a rattler, but it's I don't know of people who have stood on snakes. And funnily enough, I was walking somebody one day. I was still in my 20s. It was here in the Sabi Sand. I was doing a walking safari, just me and one of my guests. Basically, it was a family that used to visit periodically, and every time they visited, they wanted me as their guide, and mom and dad and 2 kids. And the kids were too small to walk. So when one day I would walk with dad and mom would stay at the pool with the kids and play, and the next day it would be the other way around. And this was a particular day I was walking with the mom, and we were walking over a rocky area on the edge of a drainage line down near the Sabi River, a really beautiful area. And she was asking me what would happen if she got bit by a snake. And I happened to just say to her, look, actually, the thing is, you don't have to worry if you get bit by a snake, because I'll be able to deal with it. Only time you have to worry is when I get bit by the snake. And I'd say that's pretty much it. You don't have to worry about it. You just have to worry about your guide getting bit by the snake. And lo and behold, that evening I was bit by a snake. Bitten by a snake right in front of them, trying to show the little boy a reptile that he shouldn't play with, and saying, don't play with the snake because it's venomous and it can bite. And the next instant I was bitten by that very snake. 90% of snake bites are people who are handling them. And if you don't handle snakes, you don't get bitten by snakes. That's a beautiful feather. Jeannie, thank you. Wow. In Arkansas, I'm trying to think. I don't know how big that is. I can see it looks like it's lying on a piece of pine. Looking at the knot in the pine, but then the knots in pine can be any size. So I'm trying to figure out how big that feather would be. Could be a woodpecker, but then it might be bigger. So I don't know the American birds very well. I used to have a bird book, but then I lent it to somebody who was going to the States and never heard from them again. But it is a unique feather. But thank you, Ellen, in Arkansas. Let me forward that to my email, and I hope I'll get around to it. And I've got quite a full inbox, I have to say, in my Juma email inbox, and I haven't been very good at answering. I think it's because I take so long in answering just one email that eventually at the end, I get through a couple and then there's no more time for any more. But I do get through them, and I will get through them, and I know that a lot of people are waiting for answers. And once I get home at the end of the week, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get emails out. I'll be doing it once a week. Rose saying that she has to click on the pop-out function on Ustream Chat to get it to work. Sometimes it takes a few tries. I know I've been trying, but the moment I've now suddenly got over 50 emails that have come in, and if I don't get through them now. Night Following of Leopard from Law Springs. Thanks for that. Let's just change picture again. Okay, I'm going to find another picture. Arachnids. No, yeah, I suppose maybe there's some that are a little bit arachnophobic. We won't go there. What birds? No, birds, I don't have any great photos of birds. You need good lenses for birds. You need to find your photos that you haven't seen or we haven't put up before. Suddenly found a folder with all my bonsais. Just before I left the Cape, I took a photo of each one. I should look for my tambuti amongst these and then have a look at the latest photo. There it is. No leaves on it. Okay, I'm going mad here. So we don't want bonsai. Botanical. What have I got in botanical? Flower for the ladies. Let's find a flower for you. That gladiolus that I found yesterday, the one that wasn't open very much yet. Here's one photo of it that I took. Hang on a sec. No, can't do that. Ah, there's something nice. There you go, my ladies. The most beautiful specimen of an impala lily that I've ever seen. It's at a neighbour's house in the Timbavati. Of course, this was in the middle of winter. It is a huge, it's got to be hundreds of years old. Next question. Lev in Brooklyn. Shalom, Lev. Do I believe that animals that have become part of my like Induna will miss me, or at least notice I'm no longer driving by? I'd like to think so. As far as missing is concerned, I doubt it. I don't think we play much of an emotional role in their lives. I don't think that I really don't think they will miss us. I think they might notice that, or I don't know. I don't know what goes on in an animal's mind, you know. And we put a lot of emotion into our relationship with them, but I really don't think it's reciprocal. I don't think that feelings are mutual. I think that they're aware of us, and I think that the fact that they've been around, Karula and all of her children have been around our rooms and around the place that we live in, they know our scent. They know us. I think they will notice that scent is no longer here, and they will recognize that we're not here. But I doubt whether it comes down to missing us. I really do. I don't think that is part of it. What happened? Oops. Okay, I've suddenly got 2 pages of emails that came in, so I've got a long way to go. Mike Moss sending a photograph of Jordan winking at us. Wow. Was that Jordan? Yeah, looks ragged ears. Huh. That's one of Mike's amazing photograph, Mike. Maybe Mike can put up a link to that on. I will only put up my own photographs, or maybe a screen cap. Deborah, other Deborah. Thank you for a lovely email, Deborah. It was a lovely email. I'm going to forward it to myself. But it has been a pleasure knowing you too, Deborah. Collective We raised over $200,000 in 2 weeks for orphan Norfolk Eagles. Gee. It isn't a very little amount, but it's a huge amount when it's converted into rands and it's coming out of someone's pocket and they're not getting anything back. So, you see, I mean, just getting back to the whole costing thing. For someone to lay out out of their own pocket to do this and not get a return is obviously a very difficult thing. But if a company were to sponsor it, the long-term benefits to the company would be realized, because there would be so much advertising. I mean, I drop their name when we're talking. There's just so much we could do. But yes, I'd like to see it come back and have more of an educational role, especially with the likes of maybe concentrating on things like Karula and her family and the dynamics of the leopards. So it's, I don't know, we can only dream, I suppose. You see, now here's an email from Heather, also in Minnesota. And this highlights one other aspect of what we do, of the drives, and the positive repercussions of the drives. And Heather is, but one of two Heathers at least, but one of many people who have been through a medical crisis and has had the live drives and the community of what we have here on the live drives to help us through problems like or medical or debilitating times. Trying to find words here, but Nana, Heather, was just telling me about some surgery and saying how hard it has been, and hoping to do some paintings for us. Nana, I'll send this also to my email, and I'll send it to Seb and Tara as well, and we can all each maybe give you addresses to send something to. But Nana's saying she's trying to get paintings done of each of us, and that it will only be ready by January. Nana, there's no rush. And I'm just touched that you're doing that, but thanks. And I will send you an address perhaps that you can send it to if you want. Inquiry. Ustream chat from Marilyn, it never works. Marilyn saying she waited over 2 hours to see something on her first drive. And yeah, it's always educational. Hello, Judge Tamitha. Peter Pond Ustream listening to me as well. Yeah, Ustream, you can load it and it will come up first time one day, and in fact an hour later you can try and, if the computer you can try and do it again and it won't work. It's just funny like that on this computer, and I don't know what the criteria are. And Linda in Spokane in Washington also. And thanks, Linda. Also battling with Ustream. And Robin saying you can hear me. See, this is how far back I am in emails. That was at 6:32. It's now 7:04. 30 minutes ago was when. These are the emails I'm only getting to now, which shows that I'm half an hour behind in emails. Because I guess I'm spending too much time on individual ones, but as time allows. Sheila, Ustream is working in Minnesota. Thank you, Sheila. SPO and Ustream is working. I don't know what SPO is. That Sportsman's Paradise. And they can hear me from Josie Jones. Thanks, Josie. Jody. Closed group just means you have to join to post. Anyone can see the posts and anyone can join. Thanks, Jody. About Leopards Asabi Sand. Ustream working. Soul, my group, saying it's not a closed group. People can ask to join like any other group. Posting on Juma, letting people know, get updates from lodges on Karula and family. Soul saying she will post the link again on Juma. Thanks, Soul. Patricia. Patty. I haven't heard from you for a while, Patty. Patty's been with us for quite a while. Little Rock, Arkansas. Isn't that where Clintons come from? But thanks, Patty. Patty's been here longer than me, I think. Both Patties that I know. I'm sure there are a few other Patties. What camera do I use? I use a little Fuji film, a Fuji camera, Fuji Fine Pix. That's what it is. I think it's the 5300. I can't even remember. It's all the writing's been rubbed off of it because I carry it around in my sweaty palms. I was going to say my sweaty pants. No, palms. My sweaty palms rubbed all the logos off. Linda, how long am I staying after the last drive? Any ideas what I'm going to do afterwards or want to do? What else have I done in my lifetime for work besides work with or around wild animals? Thanks, Linda in SoCal, Southern California. So, one at a time. How long am I staying after the last drive? I'm supposed to be heading back home on, last drive is tomorrow, Thursday. I'm supposed to head back home Friday with one load of stuff. I'm supposed to come back on Saturday to collect the other old Land Rover with a friend of mine. So I guess you could say about a day. I've sent most of my... In fact, I woke up yesterday to find cold weather, having already sent all my cold weather clothes home already, because Jess had gone up to the Timbavati and I thought I'd save a bit of space by sending a few bags with them. And it ended up all my cold weather stuff went up to the Timbavati because I didn't think we were going to get cold weather. And now all of a sudden it's damp and cold, and at least I got a few things to wear. But I'm unfortunately not going to be staying too long. I have to be honest. I don't see any reason to stay. I need to get home, and so I'll packing today, and I don't know. Let's put it this way: if it's raining, I'm going to have to delay things because otherwise, everything's going to get wet. I can only really leave when the weather dries up, and this weather's supposed to stay for the next 2 or 3 days. So I don't know. Any ideas? Well, I have no idea what I'm going to be doing afterwards or what I want to do. I'm trying to get through these next couple of days. Thinking about this, I haven't even begun to think about that. I've got to look at my finances. I've got to figure out some sort of a budget to work on for the next. I've got to take at least. I've got to think that at least the next 3 months I'm going to have to finance myself. So that's going to be working on quite a tight budget. So I'm not going to be able to do very much at all, and I don't really want to do anything in December. I want to be in my own space at home. I need to gather my thoughts and put my life in perspective and see where I am within myself. I know I will be doing some writing, and whether something comes of it or not, I don't know. I've had a lot of people saying that I should write something. I've been told that for decades now. I do write. It's my only release. I'm quite a loner. I'm very happy in my own company because I've got animals and wildlife around me. And while I am a people's person, there are times in my life where I need my solitude. And right now I think solitude is something that I need more than anything else. Don't know what I'm going to be doing. I really don't know what I'm going to be doing. It's kind of a daunting task at my age to face having to start all over again. It's not any other company doing this, so it's not like I can stay in this field. I don't have the editing experience that Seb has. Seb has already found some place to. I mean, his editing skills are phenomenal, and he's been asked to go and do some 3D editing for some place in Cape Town. And Tara has her BSc degree. She also they have their age in their favor. They've got a lot of opportunity available to them. In this country right now, the way the political climate is, the unemployment, being my age, being in my position is not a very easy one. I was here 3 years ago when I was waiting to find out whether Wild Earth was going to hire me or not. It took almost 3 months because Emily was having her baby and there was a lot going on. But it's not easy. It isn't easy. And even if I were to think of going back into the lodge business, despite the fact that I've been in the industry for 25 years, what I think I find it works to my disadvantage is you have to really know me to know what to understand me. I don't know how to explain it, but it doesn't matter what I write on a CV. People don't know who I am, and they don't know where I'm coming from. And a CV or a resume that gets thrown in with 500 others, and you know what it's like. If it doesn't stand out, it sort of goes into file 13. Hope I'm not sounding too negative, but I'm just being realistic. I know how it works. I've been on the other end where I've had to receive CVs. And when you're looking to hire somebody, you're not looking to hire somebody in their late 40s. You're looking to hire somebody in their late 20s when you want things done these days. So it's difficult. And so I have to try and think of what avenue I'm going or what path I'm going to follow, because I don't necessarily want to get back into the tourism side of it. I haven't been in it for over 6 years now. In the game lodges and the tourism side, I'm way too old to be a guide. The way these guides are, I wouldn't survive a week. I would pull my hair out within a week if I had to be a guide with the likes of a lot of the guides here in this part of the world, even though they have supposed qualification. Well, that's another thing. I haven't kept up with the times with guiding, and I don't have all the acronyms behind my name that tell me that I'm affiliated with all the necessary governmental organizations. I don't know. It's another long story, but that's why I need to go home and need to sit around my fire at home alone and try and figure out what my next move is. Dear, what's the story of this picture? Dear, if you can't see the Photoshop in that picture, then then it's a very good work. I can't remember who did this. It's coming to me. I think I'm going to need to try and put this picture up for you. It's quite a funny picture somebody did. And somebody can remind me. Was it Ed or Alan? I can't remember. Let me see if I can copy it to there. Yeah, that worked. Now I need to copy it from... Let me open that folder and move that folder. And then find that picture in this folder. This was a fireside chat I was on, that I was doing. Copy it there. This was a fireside chat and I was I don't know, obviously it was pausing in thought, looking down at the fire, and somebody photoshopped a baboon holding a stick with marshmallows. And it is good. It is a pretty good photo. Dear was asking, let me try and find that again. Where is it? Thanks for your email, Dear. What's the story behind this picture? I thought animals were afraid of fire. Actually, animals aren't afraid of the fire. The times I've sat in this almost identical position around my fire at home, and I've had genet, civet, hyena walking right up to me, only because they know that food gets cooked on a fire. Interesting photograph. Very interesting photograph. Anyways, there's one of Seb's now. Email 52 to go. That one. April the 13th, 2009, from Joy Bubo. That was a special moment. That was very, very funny. Lishan was on camera with me. Can't remember who was in FC. I do recall that Peter never used to do directing. Peter hated to be directing. Alright, let's put this picture up now. This was April the 13th, 2009. Wait, I need... I had so many windows and tabs open. Let's try that one there. And also, I can't crop it because if I or rather expand, if I blow it up, let me just put it on as it is. But if I try and fill the frame with it, we lose definition and you lose the feet and everything else. But that was down in the dip on Central Road, where the Ellies have been digging for water lately. I mean, in those days there was standing water just after the wet season, and the Ellies were all down there, and this young one was digging, and every time it would suck up a bunch of water and sand to try and get to the cleaner water underneath. Instead of just spraying it out next to itself, it was actually spraying us on Noganda, who actually was the jigger at the time. And the two of us and the camera, the vehicle got covered in sandy mud. It wasn't really mud as such as just water and sand, but it was a very funny time. Thanks, Joy. JB. Yeah, I don't know. JB, very important initials in my life for some reason. Penny, hello Penny. Believe the rivers in the south are in full flood. Water's now over the new causeway built at Croc Bridge. Must be awesome. Yeah, there's been a lot of rain down Nelspruit Way. Dead hippo on the bank alongside the Malalan Bridge caused a huge traffic jam. Struck by lightning. Wow. And yes, Penny, we do need to keep in touch. If Redtail, if Joe's going to be here, let me know where you are. I can't see myself getting a job before January, and somehow I'll try and meet up with you. I still don't know whether they'll allow me in the park with my Land Rover because it's so open, and you're not really allowed open Land Rovers in the park. But you let me know where you're going to be and what dates. I'll definitely try and make a plan, Penny. This time round, my Land Rover's running at least. There we go. Billy Bob. Mark wants to know if Maker's Mark is second best. Now, somebody in... Where is Maker's Mark made? In Arkansas? Forget now. Maker's Mark whiskey. What's the best? Best is Jack Daniels. But Jack Daniels is not whiskey and it's not a bourbon. It's Jack Daniels. Anyways. Just getting in late from work. Hello, Linda J. Not sure if it's still bad weather keeping drives off. Seen a precious little time left. Last drive Thursday AM. Your AM in California, yes. I finally found us 6 months ago. Become part of your life. I know this is the saddest thing, is that some people have only found us now. And then there are all those people that left us because we turned to 3D and they thought that we were no longer their favorite. And then they don't know that we're not doing 3D anymore, and suddenly they're finding us, and that they're finding that we haven't been doing 3D for a long time now. But in the words of old Rexon, Walala Wasala, you snooze, you lose. There's actually a shop in Acornhoek. I should have taken a photograph of it, but there's a shop in Acornhoek called Walala Wasala Fashions. But thank you, Linda. I know there's... Actually, it doesn't look like it's spitting anymore. I should try and get out there. What is the time? It's about an hour left of drive. But there's 60 emails to get through, of which maybe only a few will get sent to me on drive. Let me go through quickly. Let's see what we can do. Giraffe in the sunlight. Thank you, Cheryl. Ellie Picks from Kim in Wisconsin. Thank you, Kim, and thanks for that wonderful thought. Tommy in Ohio, have you read about the white lions that used to live in the Timbavati? There's still white lions in the Timbavati. Actually, there's still two that are now about 2 years old, and there is now one new cub. What more can I tell you about? Gosh, I can tell you a fair amount about them. From those first white lions that were found in the 70s, humans discovered how to breed white lions, so there are white lions all over the world now. But the true, original, only living white lions are those that are up in the Timbavati. The rest of the white lions are all made by humans. When there were two trees, this is from Patty again. Patty, when there were two trees side by side with a kill in each, and a leopard kept going back and forth between the two trees. I don't remember that, Patty. I was on leave at the time. I remember them talking about it, but I don't think I was here. Thanks, Patty. But I remember hearing about that when I think they were Dacre. Laurie, hello Laurie in Canada. Also enjoys the Ellies. And Laurie also just saying that how much of a blessing this is because of an illness. So many people that we can reach. Oh, that's a pretty one too. That sweet moment when two hyenas were curled up together. Lovely Ellie pic there also from Danny in Los Angeles, who's a Zoomie. You know, if I had to, if a future employer were to just have a look at a handful of some of the emails coming in, I'm sure they would get an understanding of me, but unfortunately that doesn't really form part of a resume. Thanks, Lynn, Safari Girl. The question is, while sleeping, I'm guessing you have to leave windows open for air. I'm able to snake-proof my house. I don't have any cause to snake-proof the house, Lynn. And I've often found snakes inside. I don't need to. For me, I don't worry about them. Snakes come in, they come in. If they're venomous, I take them out. Those that are not venomous, well, actually, even the non-venomous ones, I don't want them stuck in the house. But if they come in, they normally find their way out again. I used to have, in most of the places that I've lived, in all the places I've spoken about on drives, I've been managing luxury tented camps, which means living, and it sounds like living in a tent, and you might sort of get this picture of a piece of canvas thrown over a few poles, but it's more than that. Luxury tented camps, the tents can be as big as this room that we've got as FC, ensuite bathrooms. I mean, talking about all luxury furniture. It's a room with a canvas wall, really. And they're wonderful to live in. And I would, in most of the places that I live, I would have the flaps, the front of the tent wide open, because normally you can open the entire front, so it's not like you have a door or a flap or a zip. You open up the entire front. And I used to live like that. I used to have snakes in my tent all the time, even though I've woken up with them on my pillow. But I'm not worried about snakes. Casey, thanks, Casey. Not trying to get me to pick a favorite moment, just trying to get me to talk about all of them. But thanks, Casey. I will try and talk about it. The thing is that now, I'm trying to get through so many emails. Oh, yes, that moment. But I wasn't on drive, that one. I think it was Tara and King Alan Hewitt sending a picture of that Ellie reaching up for that torchwood at Twin Dams. I remember Tara was on that drive. Yeah. I think I was in FC at that time. Anyways, Alan is asking, not really asking, but yes, Alan, I've seen elephants do that in a lot of tall trees, where they, especially up in Zimbabwe, where the anna trees grow so tall and they reach up for the seed pods. And still got arachnophobia. You were bitten by a brown recluse. Alan, I no longer take being bitten by something as an excuse for a phobia. I've been bitten by snakes. I've been stung by scorpions. I've even been bitten by an elephant. I have been bitten by a dog. I have been... I'm not scared of it. I don't have a phobia because I was bitten. It's an irrational fear. I'm sorry. If I had 5 minutes with you, I'd get you over your arachnophobia, because you're not scared of spiders. You're scared of arachnophobia. The fear is the fear itself. Spiders are not something to fear. It's something that I just can't come to terms with, is this fear of spiders, when they're such tiny, delicate creatures. They're like really... Where's the logic behind being afraid of something so small, and where if a spider fell off of your ceiling and landed on the ground, it would kill it because they're so delicate. In fact, a spider can die from falling just a couple of feet. And we are such big creatures, and we got these huge feet, and we normally all wear shoes, and you just have to stand on them, and you don't even have to apply pressure. It's just, I suppose it's hard for someone with my passion and understanding of things, and that's what it is. That's actually what it is. Is the fear causes kind of a mental block where information of your subject doesn't get in. So without learning about it, you remain afraid, and the only way to dispel that fear is actually to learn something about them and how fantastic they really are. I mean, here's a little jumping spider on a leaf, for example. Totally harmless, physically incapable of biting a human being. They're one of the most incredible spiders because they have such an incredible eyesight, but also because they have such large eyes that we can relate to. They also have this unique ability. They're one of the only spiders that can actually turn their heads, and they actively follow you with their eyes. And I think one of the things that makes these kind of spiders a little bit frightening for people is that they jump unexpectedly and far. But the jumping spiders are harmless, and they just have such fantastic lives. Yeah, you can get bored with a lion, but you can't get bored with a spider. Dave in Bothell, Washington sent me a picture, an interesting picture. A road sign that says "Watch for fish." Huh. Here we have road signs that say "Watch for hippo," "Watch for elephant," or you have the typical road sign of the kudu jumping across the road saying "Watch out for animals." That's a standard sign. The other signs say "Watch out for baboons," "Beware of hippo." There's even an odd sign that you'll find with "Watch out for crocodiles." Boomslang, not sure what it's called in English. Hello, Diane. Always smile when I think of the time Craig asked about the noises geckos make. He knew what I was going to say, as he was a ranger for years in Natal. He was just brilliant with my answer. Coming to Sabi Sands in September next year. One thing always scares me, a boomslang. Have you seen many there? Everything, that's what I'm scared of. Shanae remembers how I found the tambuti tree for her. Love that. Thanks, Diane. It'd be nice to meet you. This is Diane in New Zealand. Diane, boomslang is probably one of the snakes you don't have to fear very much, because the boomslang is a very calm snake, apart from the fact that they'd climb higher into a tree if they saw you. But to give you an example, although my brother has sold his farm now, they've been living there for 12 years. And for most of the time that they've been living there, in the pergola and the area around the house and their little office, which is just off of the house, they've had a boomslang living there for years. The kids have played outside since they were babies, which is better part of 9 years, 10 years. Olivia's going to be 11. But they've never had to once be concerned about that boomslang, even though it hunts in the trees and it's around the garden all the time. Boomslang are that kind of a snake. Boomslang, the times that boomslang have bitten, it maybe been accidental, somebody grabbing a branch or something and maybe getting bitten, or maybe the odd person that has been handling them in captivity. But I don't think you find that boomslang is a snake to worry about. They're quite calm and mellow snakes. Actually, if you're reminding me about when I found Shanae the tambuti tree, that was the last time you came here. I remember Shanae wanted to see a tambuti tree because she didn't want to collect tambuti wood for the fire. Vicky, short 11 months with the drives. 3 cheetah sightings earlier this year. If we all had cheetah there, and within the week, boom, cheetah, mom and daughter, next be a few generations of... not really a question. Just saying that one of the first questions Vicky sent in is if we had cheetah here, and then suddenly within the week we had cheetah, mom and a daughter, and that her next favourite would be seeing a few generations of the leopard, and well, now we've had that. And you're welcome, Vicky, in New Mexico. It's been wonderful having you along for the ride as well. And then a picture of me from Mitzi. Thanks, Mitzi. Roger. That's a lovely one too. Lovely picture of me in a big Ellie on July the 12th. Was it July the 12th or well, it has to be, because if we did that date, it would be the 7th of December, but we haven't got there yet. Thank you, Roger. I'll show you, see if I can get this picture up. Huge bull ellie in front of the vehicle. Copy to there. And then copy to there. Screen cap from Roger. Thanks, Roger. Earlier this year. I'm going to see what's going on the radio as well. Texan, come in. Morning on 4. Any update from this morning?
Very quiet morning. Just the music I was active and also doing combat the southern side of Chalapan, Twin Rock.
Okay, thanks a lot. You got any mvula out there?
Lord.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so the rain has stopped, but nothing has been found other than some animals we can't show you anyway. And the hyena den was active. And yes, here we go from Diane. That was a lovely. I think I was in FC. Another Diane saying some days you never know what you might run into on the drive, and this particular moment was a very special surprise. Was Tara was driving once again, and came across this mama warthog and her baby in the road, brand new little warthog child. Let's put that in there. Try and put this one up for you, because I don't know, so maybe some of you missed it, just in case you did miss it. There, I tried to blow that up a little bit, or what's called zoom in, just so that it fits the screen better, but it's not. Of course, zooming in, it's not a very clear picture, but just goes to show. And that was a new little baby, smaller than a rabbit, tiny little thing. When they're so small like that, there's so many predators. Unusual that she only had one. Warthog normally have 3, 4, maybe more. Shirley, another lovely picture from Shirley. Looks like a nyala feeding on something. Jennifer, Port Richey in Florida. What made me decide to take on the occupation that I have? Kind of by default, I suppose. My passion for nature and my passion for wild. I grew up with animals on the brain. That's all I could think about was nature and wildlife, and being exposed to it as a kid. And for me, just there didn't seem to be any other thing to do in life but to please my heart. I did try many other things. I did work in the city, did a number of things in the city, trying to please other people before I could please myself, because I thought that's what was expected of me, finishing school in the army. That was compulsory. And it was only through being unhappy, trying to please everybody, that I realized that I'll only please everybody when I please myself. And so I threw in the city and finally came to the bush in the mid-80s when I was in my early 20s. I'd spent about 4 years trying to do stuff in the city. It just didn't work. Did so many different things. September 17th, 2010, a kill. This from Lisa. Hello, Lisa. I haven't heard from you for a while. One of Induna's kills. I said that it had evidently been put that way because of the way it had been put in a tree. And that later it was indeed his. And he's still putting kills in a tree in a way that kind of just shout Induna. But Lisa sent in a picture of an impala upside down in a fork of a tree. But in the fork of a tree that would have made it impossible for him to feed on. Becky, Washington State. Funny enough, this is also a picture that Becky's just sent in. Also one of the picture of one of the leopards and one of the lion. Another picture of Mishu and Induna when I came across their snake. I don't remember seeing that. Maybe I was on leave at the time. I think that was when Induna had that python. I remember hearing about it. Rita. Hello, Dr. Rita. Thank you for your wonderful email. A birder who now has 1 million pictures of elephants. Who knew? Thanks, Rita. And somebody who I won't forget because you have almost the same initials as my grandma. M. Bradley. My grandmother was M. Bradley. Thanks, MJ. Just a picture of me when I'm answering, and I'm saying that depends. I think you've always all heard that or seen me say that. Lots of pictures coming. I'm not afraid I'm not going to be able to drag and drop all of them. But I'm now 42 minutes behind in emails. Haven't looked at chat. Pam in Georgia, thanks for that lovely crisp clear day with a big Nyala bull. Jim in Canada, hi there. Jim, thanking for all the drives and thank you for your mail. Do any of the animals seem to enjoy the rain or do most take cover the best they can? It depends, Jim. It depends. Depends on the days, and it depends on the temperature, and it depends on the type of the timing of the rain. I know I've just been speaking about using that word, it depends, but, well, it does depend. There's a blast from the past for you all. Sil, one of them pojos, Mr. T. Haven't seen him. I don't think I've seen him virtually since. No, I saw him 2 nights before the dreaded event. Anyways, Jim, I've seen animals enjoying the rain. The type of rain that they enjoy is after it's been really, really hot and one of the first rains to come in, and the temperatures are warm, and I've seen animals playing in the rain. I've followed lion in the rain where they've also been quite happy to get soaking wet because it's a warm rain. It's the kind of rain that you can drive through in a t-shirt in an open vehicle and get soaking wet and not even get a chill. So that's the kind of rain that animals enjoy. The kind of rain that we've got now, this on-off rain, it's been grey and overcast for 2 days now, and the ground is wet. The wind chill factor drops the temperature considerably. I don't think there's anything that would enjoy the rain right now. I think right now they would be taking cover or just standing still. So it's also got a lot to do with the species. I mean, I've seen rhino rejoicing with the rain falling and bouncing around like little warthogs. So it's not a straightforward answer, as are most of my answers. But there are rains that are nice and warm that animals are happy in, and some that make when it's cold it's chilly and. Remember the elephant bullfight in the open area on July the 13th? I do remember it. I wouldn't have known that it was July the 13th, no, though. But thanks, Joy. Let's change channels. Radio's going to make a noise. I have a good broadcasting voice. I read online my answers to animal questions around 2006. What was that job? Really? That was just a website that I found. It wasn't a job. I was doing it in my free time. I was longing for the bush. I was living in the Cape. And it was something like ask.com, one of those ask question websites where I was chosen to be one of the experts. That's what it was. Ask the expert, something like that. One of those websites where I was one of the supposed expert. Not that I'm an expert, but I would ask. And a lot of questions I would have would be, who would win the fight between a tiger and a python? Or who would win the fight between an elephant and a crocodile? I had a lot of really strange questions, but for every 10 strange questions, there would always be one that I was really happy to answer. And I think one of the things that got me doing that was reading some of the answers that people were giving about African animals, and they were living in other parts of the world. And I thought, really, you need somebody in Africa to be answering questions about African animals. So I signed up, and they accepted me and decided that I was good enough to answer some. And Largo lass, goodbye, miss you too. The giraffe peeking through the 2 trees, I remember that too. That was up on Leadwood Road. Ronnie. Bird pick, one of your favourites from Pam Edge. That was at Wahlberg's Eagle, that pale-faced Wahlberg's. Beautiful picture, that. Donna. Hello, Donna in Nebraska. And what hooked Donna was watching, and there were lions walking down the road near me, and the thought of being at home at night and the same time that lions are walking around out in Africa was, I can only begin to imagine what that must feel like. The largest prairie grass stabilized sand dunes in the USA, covers a quarter of the state. Gee, in the north central part, that's in Nebraska. On top of a huge aquifer that provides a lot of fresh water. An ongoing prehistoric rhino dig from volcanic activity from Idaho. Damaged the lungs of grazing animals with the powdered glass. Wow. Several extinct grazing animals have been found. I think quite recently they've also found further rhino stuff somewhere near there. Very interesting. Thanks, Donna. Diane, I go barefoot a lot. Do I need to be concerned about picking up parasites? Diane in California. A consulting ecologist. Got a job for me, Diane. Los Altos in California. Los Altos. I'm sure. Isn't Los Altos near Aptos? Near Santa Cruz? Let me know. I'm interested. Los Altos rings a bell. I spent so many months in Aptos, between Aptos and Santa Cruz and Los Gatos and Scottsdale and Watsonville, the whole Monterey Bay area. I spent quite a lot of time there. But I wouldn't say I'm concerned about picking up parasites. I know that there are the odd parasites that can enter the skin. Thing is that having been barefoot a lot, I've got sort of soles under my feet, although the center of my foot is pretty soft. I'm aware that it's possible, but I guess I'd rather feel the earth underneath my feet than worry about picking up parasites. Thanks, Diane. Dale sending me a picture of a roadrunner. Thank you. In Amarillo, Texas. I think they're such incredible birds. This is the Chaparral Roadrunner. Dale and Shelley in Amarillo. My first Roadrunner that I saw was down in the bottom of Death Valley at the headquarters. Beautiful paintings. Wow. Thank you, Becky. Oh, those were Deer's paintings. I should have known. They looked, yeah. So Becky won leopard cub and clouded leopard paintings from Deer. Wow. Deer is quite talented. Lynn has been on about 40 walks in the bush. So he saw snakes a number of times. They all slithered away really fast. None of the snakes, which range from runcals to a python, several different ones in between, waited to introduce themselves to us. And then they left in a hurry, and you only had a glimpse of them. But yeah, Lynn brings up a good point. When you're out on the farm, the main concern is actually the dogs. It's dogs that get bitten by snakes so much, because dogs will be dogs. But thanks for the email. This is for Diane. I think. No, who was it that was asking about walking safaris? Deborah was worried. It was Kathy. Just Lynn backing up what I was saying. And Lynn saying she's been for a lot of walks in the bush, and even though they saw snakes, was never threatened by them. I've never been threatened by snakes on a walk. The only time I've ever been threatened by snakes is when I'm trying to catch them and remove them from lodge grounds. Things like cobras and puff adders, when they get angry because you're trying to catch them. Thank you, Joanne. A lovely picture of the two of the sticks. I remember that when they were drinking and they were sort of they were butting each other, butt-wise. They were trying to butt each other out of the way. Back on June the 7th, or was it July the 6th? June the 7th, 2010. Thanks, Joanne. More pictures coming in of giraffe, birds, lion, and zebra, and from Shireen in Texas. Lovely photos, those. I think you might have played with the color, though. That picture of the birds, those aren't these birds. What birds do we have that are so red? I wonder. But you're most welcome, Shireen in Texas. Young Sticks male and sister. Picture from Kathy in Oregon. He is doing quite well. He's been seen with tsalalas, believe it or not. Is life tranquil? Asks the civet. All depends on how you live it. And to this rhetoric question, I must pose you a suggestion. To be tranquil is not easy. Life's not always bright and breezy. Try to live it like the civet. Try to love it and to live it. Thank you, Penny. I love it. I like that. Thank you for beautiful flowers from Debbie. You're welcome, Debbie. That's the one thing I'm going to be missing. Flowers for the ladies. Hello, Joe. Now I'm going to be able to recognize you when I see you. Western Diamondback Rattler. Thanks for the pic, Joe. Look forward to maybe meeting you in January. Alicia, and Diane from Georgetown in Texas. And thank you for flattering me. And you're most welcome. I'm so glad that you've been enjoying our drives. It's a special place on the reserve that I'm going to miss in particular. A special place? Well, Gowrie Dam, I think perhaps. That view up from Zoe's Road, looking out to the east, where you just look out over hundreds of miles of bushveld. Although I have to say I've got a similar view at home, looking to the northeast. Cheetah Cut Line, I love that area. And also down along the Milwaukee River, there's some very magic places that I used to look at them and say, I want to pitch a tent there and sleep there a couple of nights. I would still love to do that. Sandy. Oh, you had bariatric surgery. So glad you made it out of after surgery, Sandra. And I hope you recover. I hope you're doing okay. Got through half of my emails so far. Guides of Arethusa, Raisa, hi there. Haven't seen Safari since 21st of October. Still hoping she'll come around. Well, I hope so too. Wonder how Karula would react if she loses her mom. Safari's been around for so long, babysitting her kids, refereeing the fights. And Raisa saying it's going to miss our leopards territory. I know how much you're going to miss them, Raisa. In Finland. How come I didn't know you were in Finland? Oh, I did. I must have known. Beverly. Have I had the thrill of seeing the elusive black leopards? No, unfortunately not. Do I know a black leopard camp in the province? Yes, I do. It's linked to Will Fox, and I do know the couple. There's a couple Mike and Carrie Pearson, who are running it. Mike goes back to the Sabi days, is back in the 1980s. So I do know Mike, who runs Black Leopard Camp. I haven't been there yet, though. And I do know that it is connected to the Ingwe Leopard Project, because that is where they do have black leopards. In fact, the only black leopards that have been sighted have been in that area, and it's outside the game reserves. It does look like it is. It's mountainous. It's beautiful terrain. And it's a higher elevation, so it's malaria free. Yes, Mark Zuckerberg, billionaire boy. But yes, when you get people like Mark Zuckerberg, actually we need to contact, we've got a local guy, Mark Shuttleworth, who's also a billionaire. He made his billions with some internet security antivirus type of thing and sold it for, he was one of the first space tourists, one of the first people to pay millions and millions of dollars to go up with one of the Russian spaceships and experience space. And he's got a program where he's actually offering funding for educational stuff. I don't know how to approach these things. I don't know how to go about it. But maybe we need to look into that. I wouldn't even know how to approach Mark Zuckerberg. I'm sure a lot of these millionaires and billionaires have thousands of people with their hands open looking for money. But yeah, if somebody can somehow get through to Mr. Zuckerberg, tell him there's another little Jewish boy in Africa by the name of Mark looking for funding. Laurie highlighting something we were talking about a bit earlier, which is something I am really going to miss. And I don't know, I think it was one of the first things in the March of 2009 when I just started here. It was something that struck me as very important. We were having a fire. We were doing a fireside chat. We were around the fire outside the kitchen in the old FSC spot, the old FSC spot. And it was the Wild Earth birthday, and we left the camera running, and each of us was going to sort of go to the camera and say a few words. And I remember there was somebody who had cancer who was saying, and that I'd only been here a month. And I remember saying something about it then, of how incredible it was to take people's minds off of their illness. I wish that I had something like this when I was stuck in the city, and I wish I'd known about something like this. The years when I was stuck in the city, being ill, missing wildlife. In fact, for me it was hard, and I was stuck just after my transplant. I was in a lovely little town, a small, they call it a village, I guess, when the tourists aren't there, the holiday season. But I was right on the edge of town in a little suburb. The house that it was a cottage I was renting, was right on the edge of a nature reserve, and I used to have all sorts of animals in the garden. But when a wildlife program came on TV, I'd switch it off because it was too heartbreaking to think that I was stuck down in the Cape and I was under the impression that I would not get back to the bush. And it was just too heartbreaking to see elephants and lion and things on TV and have this thought that I wasn't going to be going back to the bush. Still, never say never. But Laurie, in Georgia, so glad that after 4 years of watching that you're better than ever. And yeah, it's great therapy. Therapeutic value is incredible. Mgodi picture. There's an elephant we're never going to forget. And those babies playing in the mud that day. Thank you, Janet. JJ. Pat just saying thanks, you're most welcome. Just forward that to myself so I can look at those links at a later date. Beverly. The you baboon shot for a minute. Okay, baboon and me shot that one with the fire. That one. Beverly just wants that one back quickly. There you go, Bev. 2 or 3 inches long. Yeah, you see, I thought so. That could be... If that was a feather here, I'd say it came out of a woodpecker. And it is interesting that the feather showed up at your doorstep. Maybe the woodpecker was knocking on your door. April the 8th, another Aries. And yes, for those of you who are Aries, we are unique. Thank you, Ellen. Just a picture of a feather that Ellen sent me. And maybe Ellen's going to send me the picture, the feather. Send. Okay, we need to go out. The sky's lightening up. Folks on chat say radio. Job idea. Yeah, but that means I've got to live in the city. How am I going to do that? Maker's Mark in Kentucky. Of course it's a Kentucky bourbon. Of course it's a Kentucky. How silly of me. Thank you, Loretto. Maker's Mark. I don't think I've ever tasted Maker's Mark. There's another picture with a number of animals thrown in around the fireside chat. With Tara, Seb and myself and a leopard and Ellie and all three leopards. Teddy sitting on Seb's lap with a bow around. September 2011. Operation Migration. It is a very important thing. Thank you for reminding me, Patricia. Currently in Illinois, making their way to Florida, the whooping cranes. I remember reading a lot about them about 10, 15 years ago. There was something quite interesting I read about them. I can't remember what it was. But now, yes, Operation Migration, for those of you interested. It is a very important process. Lynn sending pictures of me covered in wet sand and the wet sand all over the jigger. Thank you, Lynn. The day that Ellie sprayed us with mud. Stacy, that's a long poem. Shall I try and read it? Or is it too personal? I sadly only found the drives 6 short months ago, but I fell in love with everything. I've even watched the grass grow. It wasn't hard to get attached to the animals and the bush. As soon as I woke up each day, my computer buttons I would push. To catch a glimpse of, who knows, maybe a lion or an impala, a zebra or a tall giraffe, a rhino or a nyala. Each day was an adventure, never knowing what we would see, from hippos lying in the dam to a leopard up a tree. And while seeing these amazing things that sometimes felt like a dream, I got to know 3 presenters and fell in love with the whole team. There's Marc, the elephant. Wait, now I moved it. Damn. Broke my rhythm. Had to scroll. There's Marc, the elephant whisperer, so knowledgeable and wise. A gentleman that loves the bush, you can see it in his eyes. Then there's Tara, dung professor. Sounds funny, but it's true. I never knew you could tell so much about an animal from its poo. Then, of course, we come to Seb, our cameraman turned host. He has a soft spot for the hyenas, and it's Teddy he loves most. I'm going to miss the African bush and all I was able to see, but feel absolutely privileged, and I know it's not just me. So many people, I'm getting goosebumps, so many people have watched the drives, some longer than I have been able, and I know we are all feeling like our days are now unstable. What will we do with our spare time now that there are no more drives? I guess somehow we must go on and continue with our lives. But I will not say goodbye to friends I've made along the way. The drives may sadly be over, but the friendships are here to stay. I thank you, Marc, Tara, and Seb, for teaching me new things, and I wish you luck and happiness in whatever its life brings. Oh, it is life brings. So after all is said and done, what I really want to say is thank you all so very much in each and every way. Stacey Myers in Australia, you're a gem. Thank you very much. I have to tell you, Stacey, I'm very disappointed, or very sad to tell you that the gunda swallowed up some of my beads. I was on camera the other day with Tara, and I reached out for something, and one of those bolts sticking up caught the little band and snapped it, and beads bounced, all those lovely little stone beads bounced all over the gunda. I've managed to find some of them, and I'll try and put them back together. Maybe I'll try and incorporate them in a necklace now. But I didn't take it off from the day I got it. Lovely stones rolled into really beautiful beads, sedimentary rock. Laurie and George are saying about the job, same issue. But yeah, it's a common problem around the world, really. High unemployment, bad economy. Of course, here we have other things too that hinder us a little bit more. It's called BEE, or what's the other word? I forget. Oh, certified resumes and CVs. Well, maybe, Laurie, I'll send something to you. Oh, private message. Sorry, Laurie. I'm going to send that to myself and I'll answer you. But yes, I think I'm so outdated when it comes to CVs and resumes and things. I now haven't the faintest. I've got to start from scratch now because I lost my old one on my hard drive. Mother Lion to the rescue. Thanks, Joanne. Did see that a few times. Sack of email would open a lot of eyes to my knowledge. Yeah, I would, Jack, but unfortunately people don't do that when they're looking for prospective employees. Peggy in Montana. But yes, thanks for encouragement, Peggy. I'd say the one advantage that I do have is that I'm not new to the situation, that I have been in the situation a number of times in my life, and I know that even though it might seem like a dark hole now, that I do know that there's a light, and I do know that I know the process I need to follow. I do know the frame of mind I need to be in. I know how to get out of it, and I know that life, with the right attitude and the right approach to things, that one does eventually, things do come right, and that everything does have reasons, and that in all my past, as dark as times have been, sometimes those darkest times have turned into the lightest moments. And one doesn't question why, one doesn't question things. One just, fortunately, having had these experiences before, I do know that by next year this time, I'll be thinking back on this as just another turning point in my life, that I just got to get through this moment, and as far as job search is concerned, I just got to head down and get at it and do it. I've just got to think of where I want to go, though. That's the hardest part right now. And Karen as well. Thanks for that, Karen. Bev wants me to talk about gorillas if I know them. I don't, Bev. I know almost nothing about gorillas. Very little. I've never seen a gorilla. Closest I've ever come to a gorilla perhaps was living in Tanzania, and even then I was still a good few 100 miles away. But unfortunately, there's not much I can talk about gorillas because I don't know anything about them, Bev. Holly in Missouri. Also been around since I've been around, Holly, and just saying that the drives bring back wonderful memories. And yes, unfortunately, just highlighting something. Holly saying she'll miss watching the back of my head. That's something that is quite strange, that you did see. Most of me that you've seen has been the back of my head. Where are we? We've got less than half an hour of drive left. You know what I think we'll do is maybe we'll go out earlier this afternoon. What's the rarest flower we have in the Sabi Sands? Been watching about 8 months. I thoroughly enjoyed seeing Africa. Karen in Texas. So far, I'd say the rarest flower that I've seen has been that star lily, that yellow flower that I saw earlier last week. The one that I've been trying to photograph nicely. The hypoxis, the lost lugnut, and my little Scops owl. Thanks, Deborah in Kentucky. Yes, that day with that flat and the lost wheelnut. That's not my owl. That's somebody else holding an owl. I wouldn't have held an owl with its feet through my fingers, surely. It's not my fingers. Is it? Don't think so. My fingers are much broader than that. And that looks like a pearl spotted owl. Not a Scops. Interested now who that photograph is from. Deborah. And I can't really tell. It looks like that person's holding that owl with the feet coming through the fingers. Curious now, Deborah. Nduna asleep on the kill. I remember that too. Thanks, Rose. Rose sending a picture of that time when Nduna had his head on the impala's belly because he wouldn't let it. He wouldn't move away from it because then his mother or his brother would have fed on it, and he wouldn't let them come near it. Marsha in Louisville, and Marsha's the one that mentioned Maker's Mark, and that's because it was produced in Marion County where Marsha was born. Still produced by the same family, part of the Kentucky Bourbon Trail and American Whiskey Trail. If I ever come to Louisville, I think I will do that. Bernheim Forest and Arboretum, that's a good place to visit. There's also the Jim Beam Distillery. Well, there you see, I can do a whiskey tour, a bourbon tour, and then I can decide which one is the best. Architect for the New York City Central Park, Frederick Law Olmsted. Lovely picture. I've got a couple of those of Shavinzi on that log. Thanks, Dave in Winchester, in Virginia. Dave's also been around a long time. I was always wondering if you're related to Peachy. In fact, Dave's been around longer than me. There's a picture of the Walala Wasala shop in Acorn Hook. Mary? You took it on your trip in April 2011. Didn't get to see me. I might have been on leave. Thanks. Kind words there, Mary. Walala Wasala fashion shop in Acorn Hook. I didn't really expect anybody to have a picture of it. That's wonderful. Roy, sure thing, Mr. Groover, up in Emerald Isle, North Carolina. So I'm going to forward that to myself. Keep your details. I don't know about coming over there. I would love to, especially having met so many people, and I think it would be fun to come over and have a big get together near Palo Alto, south of San Francisco, Silicon Valley. That's what I thought, Los Altos. Palo Alto, It's right, yeah, there, just north of Monterey Bay, north of Santa Cruz. Did go through Palo Alto. Linda in Akron in Ohio was wondering if there's a chance they'll bring back the Safari Drive, and would you come back if they called me? I mean, would I come back? I would hope so. In both answers. If they do bring it back, I would hope that they called me. I would gladly come back. Need to get an internet connection in Timbavati. Unfortunately, the only thing I could get is a very low, what's it called, 3G connection. Can try something, Connie. So let me forward this to myself. There is a tower close by, and there is a lodge nearby that I go to get Wi-Fi, but I wouldn't be able to use the lodge for anything. I do have a little SIM card and a little, basically it connects through the cell phone signal, but it's very low bandwidth, so I don't know how much I'd be able to do, and of course there's the cost involved. Laurie. See, that's why I got confused there, Laurie, in Georgia. I wasn't sure which name, because I thought there were two Lauries. Now it's the same Laurie and just different names. Maybe maiden name. Laurie. Whatever you can do. I mean, this is where we're at a point where if there's a way that you can get through to somebody who is possible that they can fund something like this. Here's a question from somebody I haven't heard from in a long, long time. Where have you been, MJ? Aloha. MJ was asking, there's an elephant in female that has got a temporal gland leaking, wanting to explain it, similar to a bull in must. Well, it's not in must. I mean, it could be that she's in estrus, but it also could be from stress. All elephants, not only the bulls, all elephants have a temporal gland. I need to learn a lot more about the temporal gland and all the different reasons why they might have liquid running from their temporal glands. Various reasons. Stress. Doodle-doo-doo-doo. What's up? Nedbank. Okay. My bank sending me a message. Frank. Hello, Frank. Has anyone wondered how all the animals' feelings are going to be hurt by us guys leaving? I think I'll be devastated. A lot of them look forward to showing themselves. I'm sure, Frank. I think they're all going to be depressed for weeks. Sil, April the 13th, also in Aries. Sumac. Yeah, I know. I said that we should go out, and now I've been trying to get through all these emails, and the more I get through them, the more come in. But it's getting time for end of drive anyway. I know I could have gone out for about an hour. I'll try and make it up to you. Maybe we can go out earlier. If it's overcast, maybe we can go out earlier this afternoon before the rain. It tends to hold off during the middle of the day, and when the temperatures start dropping again is when the rain starts coming back. Anyways, thanks for your email, Sumac. Which guy? The guy here in Cape Town. Mark Shuttleworth. Let me just find something. Yes, he's got an organization. Let me try and find the name of the organization. Mark Shuttleworth. A lot of about him there. He is in his space suit. I want to find his Ubuntu. That's what it is. Ubuntu. Patience tablets and the future of Ubuntu. No, let me see. Duncan. Patience, not patents, not patience. Tech Central. I'm on the wrong website. Let's see. Global Patent System. They're talking about patents. This is an interview with Mark Shuttleworth. Linux. Talking about computer systems. Android, Linux. No, maybe I'm wrong. Let me go back to a search here. Mark Shuttleworth, let's see. Ubuntu. Here be dragons. No. Biography. There we go. I need to make a new tab. I keep clicking and then it takes me away. New awards. Founder of Ubuntu. Alright, let me see. Here we go. This one is he's living in London now. This is about me. This is a wiki thing. I'm 37 and counting, South African, living in London. Most of my time is devoted to the Ubuntu project and cheerleader and chief whip. Spent the last year focused on the Launchpad collaborative infrastructure, writing a fair portion of it. I suppose that's software. Wine with it. No, I think Ubuntu is a software program. That's not what I'm looking for. No, I think we're talking about software now. Let me try a different search here. Mark Shuttleworth. Organizations. Mark Shuttleworth Foundation. Could be that one. One of those. That could be one of the things. Let's just go to that. Shuttleworth Foundation is part of it, but there's a section of the Shuttleworth Foundation where he... Anyways. Fellowships. Application process. Philosophy and blog. I'm not going to read all of that now. Anyone has an innovative idea for social change through fresh thinking that adds value in the areas of knowledge, learning and technology. This is the application process for the Shuttleworth Foundation. Shuttleworth, easy. Shuttle and Worth, one word. That's his name. This is the application process. Who can apply? Anyone who has a clear vision of how the world can be a better place and the contribution they can make to bringing about the change. Fellowship is not limited to any specific geographical location. However, applicants must be fluent in English. I think my English is good enough, don't you? Fellowship applicants must have attained the age of majority by the date of application. Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I qualify there. Which topics and disciplines? Foundation offers fellowships to individuals to implement their innovative idea for social change. We're most interested in exceptional ideas at the intersection between openness, technology, knowledge, and learning. Ideas that would really move the dial on access to global knowledge, social and economic development. Fellowship is not an academic fellowship aimed at research or academic study. Applicants should be social change agents who push boundaries and challenge accepted norms. They need to have all the answers, they need not have all the answers, but should ask the right questions in a practical context. Take a look at our current and past fellows to see which applications have been successful. There you go. Anybody interested in talking to Mark Shuttleworth, local boy who made millions and is ploughing millions back into projects? Let's see. The team is powered by a dedicated team of individuals from around the globe that are brought together with a common commitment. Works tirelessly adopting projects and awarding fellowships that carry the common focus of defending the rights of individuals in terms of information access and knowledge exchange while providing input to policy formulation. CEO Helen Turvey, Karen Gabriels, Chief Financial Officer, Karin Bezeidenhout, Chief Operating Officer, Wendy Stoffels as Office Manager. PO Box, there we go, info@shuttleworthfoundation.org. Anyways, go back to emails. There you go. Sumac was asking, and so was Laurie. Kathy in Minnesota, can I put up the picture of all of us around the fire? I can try. Let me just try and find it again. I don't know who sent it now and where it is. Induna Makers Mark. There we go. From Minerva. It was a picture of Minerva sending in. I'll see if I can. It's a different. Could be. Let's try open that folder. Also with a bunch of animals that were put into the photo. And let's see if I can move it across to Wirecast. And I'm going to try and blow it up because it's a little bit small. September 2011. Oops. Let's recenter it. There we go. That's from Minerva. You see, I left that other photo on too long. I get so engrossed in things. Left that other photograph up for way too long. I am starving. Got this huge hollow hole in my tummy. I must go and get some. Los Altos, California. Valerie. Thanks, Valerie. Dia's on the 16th of April. My mom's on the 18th of April. My cousin on the 3rd. Kim is on the 5th. Wasn't Lisa? There was a Lisa. One of Lisa's had a birthday in April too. Anyways. And yes, thanks, dear, saying it was a lovely time, even though we didn't see any animals this morning, your night time, and having a chat. But thank you, very kind words, Deborah. I mean, dear. Sorry. Thanks, dear. Perhaps I do sell myself a little short, but the problem is in trying to get me packaged into a few words on a piece of paper that somebody's going to read and they're going to be interested enough to read further, because nobody reads further than the first paragraph of a resume or a CV or that introductory letter. And as much as you've all come to know me, and as much as I might sell myself short, it's that process of being selected, even for an interview, that one has to get through that. And unfortunately for me, though, as much as I'm at home in the bush and as relaxed and as wonderful as I might think I am here in the bush, when I have to go to the city and sit in an office in the city after having to sit through traffic and I'm a nervous wreck. If people could come and interview me on a Land Rover driving through the bush, then I have no qualms about getting it. I have no there's no question that my true me would come out, but it's sitting inside a building, inside an office, being judged. That is a hard one for me. There's only one person that would recognize this picture, Lynn. But this is Sausage tree flour for my ladies. Steph in England, hello. We've been so busy talking to the US, time to talk to the UK. Steph in England wants... Steph, I'm going to send this email to each one of us. Mainly because I haven't the faintest idea where Tara and Seb are going and where they're going to be. One thing we haven't really discussed amongst ourselves is what our plans are and where we're going to go. But sending this through to all three of us so we can reply to you separately, Steph. Hopefully I'll get to that. Transylvania Heritage Museum. That sounds interesting, Linda. Thanks also. Very kind words, Linda. I hear you, and I perhaps do sell myself short, but only because I know who I am. I know my passion. I know my knowledge. I know who I am, and it's trying. And that's I think I've been trying to put this point across. Is that doesn't come across in it doesn't come across in writing. It doesn't. I don't know how to. I suppose sell myself on a page. It's being sent to somebody sitting in a tower in an office, and for me to stand out. For that page to look any different to the thousands of other applications that come in on paper, when people have a job ad, this is the way I know it works. Might be wrong, but this is how it works in my mind. Having been in this position where I've been employing people for a lodge, whether it's guides or a housekeeper or a chef. And granted, I'm not sitting in an office in the city. I'm sitting in an office in the lodge or in the bush. But I get a pile of emails or a pile of physical resumes that come in, and I've got hundreds to go through. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the cover page and I'm going to see how it's presented. I'm going to see what kind of education that person has by the way they write it, their use of English, their use of grammar and spelling is always a big thing. But most importantly, one looks at things like age, history, availability, and experience. And while I do have all of that experience, it's being able to put it on a piece of paper that makes it stand out above the rest. I think that's where I lack skill. Google map of Los Altos. I live in Stockton. Lived at Santa Cruz for 9 years in your 20s. Lived near Los Altos. Worked at Stanford Hospital as a student. Fancy, sorry, giving away information here. Thanks. I'm going to have a look at that Google map shortly, Val. Fancy. Also been around a long time. Stacy again. But that was a lovely poem, Stacy. I'm really intrigued by those stone beads. And sure, if you can. I mean, it costs you so much to send those bracelets. What on earth is that? Snow rhino. Now that's a good idea. Why build a snowman? Build a snow rhino. That's a very impressive snow rhino. You all want to see a snow rhino? Patty? Yeah, another Patty. We've got a few Patties. Some Patties that'll only be here this afternoon. Okay, there I've got it in that folder. So I move that window there and move that window there and then move that over there and move that over here and okay, once again, if I expand or blow it up or what you call it, if I zoom in on it to fill the screen, we lose it. So we just have to have it cropped like that. There's a snow rhino. I'm very impressed. Very impressed. Thank you, Patty. And that's Patty's husband that made that rhino. Could go into business, making snow animals, kiddies' parties in winter. Laurie. This is Laurie. Just giving me that address for Ntaba Tours again. Near Sacramento. I went through Sacramento when I went up to UC Davis. There was a terrible incident at UC Davis recently. What is it with the police? Their ability to do things like that. But yes, thanks, Laurie. I'll try and get in touch with Robin from Ntaba Tours in Kentucky and see whether there's something we can do together. Oh gosh, Dave. No relation to Peachy, but you do know each other. I was just wondering because that's not a common name, Keen. That's a terrible picture. Me and who? Marc and who? Those silly old prescription sunglasses. I actually had to wear them the other day because my glasses broke. Okay, let's try and put that one up. It's also, I'm not going to be able to zoom in on it much because at the format it's portrait and I need landscape pictures for Wirecast, and when I put up a portrait picture I've got to zoom in on it to fill the screen on Wirecast. So if I can try. But thanks, Dave. You see, if I zoom in, it loses definition, and you can hardly see my little owl. Little who. That was November 2 years ago. Me and my baby. Never know what happened to that child. Here's one for Sil. This was 6 weeks ago. It's not great focus, but that's because the camera doesn't do well from a distance zooming in like that. Anyways, the first drive back after our first 2-week break, at the end of our first 6-week shift for Juma, that was 6 weeks ago. The first day back, driving up Buffelshoek Cut Line. Look, you can see how you can still see the black from the charred grasses on the fire break on Buffelshoek Cut Line. Now it's so green. Matimbas marching up towards us in the early morning light. That was a lovely drive, full of so much hope and possibility. Susan Trueblood, I will. You know what? Let me forward that to. Let me forward that to Nikki and Eugene at the lodge, and let's see. Hopefully, Susan, they'll give you an answer. Laurie, this is private. Okay, sorry, Laurie. Just once again, forward that to myself. Marc with a C. Marc at Juma.com if you want to send me anything, details of. Linda also has to look up facts about the female's temporal gland, female Ellie. Mountains of North Carolina. Interested in the hair. Heritage Museum. Guten Morgen, Nicole. And hello, Jonas, who's 5 years old. I have to write good old-fashioned letters. Interesting question there from Nicole. And Ellie question. Knowing about how they keep cool, but what about when there's a sudden temperature loss? How do the elephants keep warm? Very good question. Probably by moving around a lot and by feeding. And they are mammals, so they are able to regulate their own body temperature. So, and also, I don't think it gets that cold. But having said that, I've lived with elephants in places where it does get quite chilly. And perhaps it's just their thick skin. They don't feel the temperature as much. But a very good question, Nicole. And Jonas, 5 years old. Thanks, Patty, in Washington State. Snow Rhino. Tommy, pouring through Safari Archives. Thanks, Tom, in Alabama. Changing the tire. I didn't only have boots on, but I had thermal jeans. Not thermal, I had fleece-lined jeans on that day. It was cold in the morning. I was getting so hot at the time. That day when we lost the lug nut, the wheel nut, those blue jeans I had on. Actually, Sally in New York sent them through Paula. Paula brought them out amongst a couple of other wintry things. And it was so hot because we don't get things like that in this country. I would never have known that they existed. Fleece-lined jeans, and they're very heavy. And there I was trying to change that tire with those jeans on because it was getting hot. The sun was out. Quite a funny day, that. Thanks, Beverly. Also another message about contacting people. Let's try. We can only try. If we can come up with funding, we can approach Wild Earth and Juma and say, okay, we'll... you're welcome, Lynn. I was just thinking of you putting that flower up. Thanks, Peggy. Interesting thing to put on a resume. Certainly consider that. Maryland and Ontario. Maryland, I will revert to Stacey in Australia. Stacey in Australia, if Stacey can post that poem, it's Stacey's poem. I don't think I have a right to do anything with that poem. Stacey wrote that poem, and it's a really beautiful poem. But Stacey, Maryland in Ontario, Canada, wants to know if we could post that poem somewhere. Perhaps what we could do, maybe if, Stacey, if you give us permission, I'll ask Tara to put it on a blog. And Jody in New Mexico. Thanks, Jody. I can't say no to help. That kind of thing. Jodie's just offering to put together a written statement, or just saying that she can put together things about people that encapsulate their essence and experience. And I think maybe that's one of the things that I find difficult because it's about myself. And perhaps in some ways I underestimate myself, or I don't give myself enough credit. And I don't want to overinflate myself. That's my other problem, is that I don't want to I don't know. But Jody, sure, let's keep in touch. I mean, you've got my email. And soon I'll be able to get everything forwarded to my permanent email, the email that I've had for the last 12 years. So yeah, just a lot of this is coming in through the questions at juma.com, but maybe we should go through my Marc at juma.com email, and then eventually when I get home it'll go through my MWeb address. Thanks, Laurie and Laurie. Laurie and Laurie. Don't know how to pronounce Laurie. L-O-R-I, Laurie, and Laurie, L-A-U-R-I-E. Thanks, ladies. Sharon in Tampa. Haven't heard from you for a while. Now, this is another thing that I unfortunately I've lost the opportunity to do. Sharon is saying I should consider putting together a DVD of drive moments to submit with a resume. Oh, okay, Sharon. I don't know where that. I don't recall getting that. I must check on my personal email, but I'll maybe send me that email again, marc@juma.com. Just saying, Sharon saying that she sent an email to Land Rover. Interesting. And to stay in the broadcasting or even the wildlife filming field would be something that I would be very interested in doing. And unfortunately, to do so, I would need a demo tape or a demo reel of not only me on camera, but the camera work that I did, plus all the voiceover that I did, plus, of course, the script writing that I did. And I'm very proud of those things that I did. But unfortunately, I have no way of accessing that information. All of that stuff is gone. I can't put together, I mean, I can't take stuff off of archives, I don't think. But also, I don't have the means to edit anything like that. I don't know. It's a hard one because I really would like to put a demo or a promo tape together for myself. I'll have to think about how I would do that. Try and get some footage from Wild Earth, perhaps. Wow. Thank you, Linda, in North Carolina. Thanks. A lovely picture of you and your hubby standing in front of some flame azaleas that grow wild in the mountains up in North Carolina. Thank you very much, Merle and Linda. Near Stanford, near Palo Alto, north of Santa Cruz. Thank you, Diane. Now that I know where it is, in case I find myself in the area. Can't guarantee me a look at a mountain lion, but can take me to show me some interesting things. Doing projects on ants and lichens. That's interesting. What, as in a symbiosis, I wonder? I was only really kidding, Diane, but thanks anyway. I mean, that's kind of stuff that I love doing too. And I know a few places around that area to go and look for mountain lion, including some of the forest and areas around UC Santa Cruz, north of there. Nicene Mark State Park, up just north of Santa Cruz, up near Año Nuevo, and what was that other park? What was that other? Bigwood State Forest, I forget. Gosh, my memory's bad in some things. But yes, there were some wonderful areas we used to walk, and I used to find signs of mountain lion. Never got to see them. I'm sure there must have been a couple of them looking at me at times. Thanks. Some more photos from Tom in Alabama. Susan, thank you, Susan. Scottsdale in Arizona. Yeah, our website. Something to think of. And thanks. I will keep that in mind too. I'm also forwarding that to myself. And Tara and Seb. I'll also have a look at GoDaddy.com and see what that's all about in terms of thinking about doing a website. I know, I mean, I'm a subscriber to MWeb. MWeb is a service provider here in South Africa, and when I first bought a computer, I signed up with them for email. I didn't know about Hotmail and the free emails at the time, but thought it better to have a permanent email address, even though I pay for it every month. But it does come with a lot of perks. I've got 5 gigs of online storage space that I've just discovered. Could have saved some of my photos there if I'd known about it. But they also they provide me with a free website. I've got sort of free web space and stuff for that. So I need to look into it. I just need to educate myself a little bit more on electronic media. Oh, wow, there's quite a picture. Majingilans, Linda B. Can't remember who was driving then. 4 Majingilans walking towards the vehicle at night. Have I ever been to Australia? Dave, hi there. No, I haven't. You live next door to Steve Irwin. No, unfortunately, I haven't been to Australia or met Steve, sadly, before he passed away. The rest of my family's been. My parents, my brother, and both my sisters. Actually, no, I don't know. I don't think my elder sister has been. I don't think Cheryl's been. But my mom's brother, my uncle, lives in Perth. And my cousins, well, Mike is in Perth, and Nikki and her kids, and Dave, her husband, they live in Sydney. Love to visit one day. Yes, I'm hungry. I'm starting to get hyperglycemic. My tea's gone cold. Didn't finish it. Iced green tea with honey. Doesn't taste too bad, I have to be honest. Hello, Jonas. And Nicole again. And Jonas is a little worried at the moment about an ill friend. So he wants to know, remember this is 5-year-old Jonas, and he wants to know what the lions do if they have stomach pains, and can a lion eat too much? Yes, they can eat too much. We've seen them recently, how they were so full they were uncomfortable. What do? Well, sometimes they'll eat grass. Sometimes they just try and lie in a position that helps them with the stomach pain, like lying on their backs. I know one thing that used to help me when I was young, when I had a tummy ache, was lying on top of a pillow. But Jonas, I hope your friend is feeling better. Thanks, Stacey. Stacey's saying we can post the poem, so I'm going to ask Tara. Go and find it again. Stacey, where was it? Stacey M. No, not that one. I just want to highlight it so that I can find it again. And I'll ask, there it is. I'll ask Tara to put it in a blog. It's a really lovely poem. Thank you, Stacey. Actually, while I'm there on that email, did I forward it? I didn't. I'm going to forward it to Tara and Seb as well while I'm at it. Sebastian Romby, Tara Piri, and Mark Weiner. And then I can just ask Tara and she'll have it in her inbox. Thank you, Stacey. I'm sure everybody will be happy. Ah, okay. I just got a message from Nikki, the lodge. So Eugene, I thought Eugene was just on leave or something. All right, I'll get, because this regarding Susan's question about getting the lodge drives to update. I'll just mark that and answer Nikki shortly. I'm going to have to end soon, 10 to 9, time to go and eat. Thank you, dear, saying Stacey's poems on my Facebook page. Okay. But a lot of people aren't on Facebook, so Tara will put it on the blog. There's a picture of Robin. And Laurie in California. Thanks, Laurie. Helps putting pictures of, or rather faces to names. Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. Sharon sending me an interesting photo of a bald eaglet, about 12 weeks old. Just the size of those talons. The size of an adult, bigger than an adult hand. Wow. You just don't realize how big these birds' feet are. And that's a youngster. Wow. Okay. Thanks. Sharon. Thanks, Sumac, for your email. I'm coming to the end now. Big Basin, Redwood State Park. Thank you, Connie. That was the one. That was another one. As well as the Nicene Marks. Big Basin is another one I used to go walking in quite a lot. Actually, I think we used to go horse riding there too. Laura. Oh, I need to sneeze. Oh, gosh. Excuse me. Some more Aussies. Thanks, Laura. Really lovely. Kind words there from Laura. Thank you. I've got some very, very close friends here that are also Wattses. Their surname is also Watts. So not easy to forget, Laura. Laura Marie. Lynn and Greg Watts are my friends. And actually, I see there's actually a Lynn Watts that is one of our viewers, funnily enough. Beverly, just Bev, yeah. Seb does have the means to edit a demo. We just don't have the equipment here. We don't have the footage. We don't have the edit suite. We don't have any of the equipment or the footage or the archive, anything here to be able to do it. But also, Seb is not here. And I don't know, I'm not even sure if I'm going to be seeing Seb again. Because although he might be coming back from Cape Town, they're going to be going to Mozambique. And I'm going to be at home. But thanks, Bev. Just reminding me about things. Sorry, I suppose that was meant to be private. I didn't read the headline. So I think that's now pretty much it for emails. Been through quite a few this morning. Thank you very much for your participation. Thanks for being around. don't know what else to say right now. Just good chance that there's going to be good weather for the drive this afternoon. I'm quite sure we'll be going out. And we'll see what the weather looks like. And now, finally, just having a quick look at chat. Well, of course, you're welcome. Everybody's saying thanks, but I just wanted to. I suppose there's not much chance of scrolling back in case there were any questions there. But if you did ask any questions in chat, sorry I didn't get to it. But thanks everybody for joining me and understanding about the weather. And I actually have to apologize profusely because this last hour or so it hasn't been raining, but we've been having a good time. And actually, for a moment, I think it's been better because I've actually been able to talk to you a lot better, and it's something that I haven't done for a while. And it's I think a little bit more personal being able to talk to you through here than it is from the vehicle. So, yeah, thanks. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being who you all are, I suppose. So, I'm going to say goodbye. Chakula, ndio, Laura, sasa hivi, nitakwenda jikoni tu. Nitakwenda jikoni, naomba chakula. Muesli. Actually, I'm probably going to go to the lodge and get milk first. So thanks everybody. I've said that already. Finding it hard to tear myself away. But I'm going to now. Good night. Those of you on our side of the planet, have a lovely day in the UK and Finland and wherever you may be on our beautiful blue planet. And sweet dreams. See you in your morning, our afternoon. Bye-bye. Goodbye. Bye-bye. Bye. Okay, bye.